Content warning for discussion of fictional sexual assault.
Hello, everybody. We are back once again with another episode. Once again. Hello.
We are back.
Another episode. Yes, hello.
See you guys next week.
Yes. Bye. Hello.
Come on, Keith.
Oh no, Keith's broken. Wait, we gotta reset Keith.
It's
Hold
over.
on.
He didn't go along with the joke. What is this?
I'm going to start this episode with, I was right. I was right.
Sure.
With my
Please
stupid,
provide context.
I was right about Genshin Impact discussion being more controversial than political discussion. At least on my channel.
I mean,
maybe on your channel, yeah.
I was waiting for the data, and the data is in. And Trump Be Gone episode last week, 77% likes on my channel. Genshin Impact, 63%. It's almost like a 50-50 compared to a 3 out of 4. Like,
look, man, if it's like politics is never more important than gaming. So if there's a gaming controversy, it tops anything going on in the world.
How
it
dare
doesn't even
you
matter.
have negative opinions about my moe girl addiction?
Exactly. I would destroy planets to stop you from having bad opinions about anime. But if you tell me like, oh, your president sucks, okay, whatever, I don't give a shit. You're not touching the things that matter to me.
Well, on my channel, it was sort of the opposite. I got 90% likes on the Genshin Impact. Everybody very happy about our agreement there. And then on last episode, it was 58.3.
Womp womp.
Womp. Indeed.
I'm sorry for your loss and that you have to deal with those people.
I don't deal with them. I have very good tools at my disposal. I mean, they're not very good tools. They're tools. They're tools.
So that one had the most likes of any video in the entire series and like double the normal viewership. So obviously this is now a political podcast.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I also got the most likes of any video and the most viewership.
Yeah, technically it had double the dislikes of the Genshin Impact, but it had 3.5 times the likes.
I'm just all I want is I just want to go back to ignoring federal problems again. I just don't. I like the only thing that makes me happy about Joe Biden is that he's not going to accomplish jack fucking shit. I can just ignore him for a while, focus on the important stuff, and then when it's about election time again, go back to focusing on what matters in federal. But like I'm just happy I can kind of ignore that problem for now, focus on the real, actual.
Speaking of ignoring, goodbye that topic. We're past it. That was last week for 3 hours. Now I've got a new controversial topic for everyone to be mad at me for bringing.
Ooh, juicy.
They keep coming by on a regular basis. We had the Genshin Impact thing. We had the Let's Plays are not fair use. We had 3 Days Grace is trash. Then
I don't think that's a controversial topic.
No, that was not. Although stuff with Stephanie doesn't get disliked very much either. But
I mean,
no, this week we have sexism. Hooray! Everyone loves talking about sexism
what do you mean
on the
this
internet.
Week? What do you mean this week?
Well, this podcast will be primarily focused on some
and
sort
it's
of
about
sexism.
a Japanese game, so it's once again we're just people gonna get angry. People are gonna get so angry, and also Andrew's probably gonna be not on my side on this one. You actually know about this already. We brought it up already, but I'm like, this is definitely a podcast topic. So there was an interview, and it came up that the Yakuza creator doesn't want Kiryu to beat up women in fighting games, and so that's the reason why the constant requests for Kiryu to be a guest in fighting games, because it just seems so blatantly like something that you could easily just like slot him into like Street Fighter or Smash or really any fighting game, and he already has such a diverse moveset because he's a brawler character that you could just make him fit and it'd be great and it's good fan service and everyone would love it. But apparently the reason he's not in these games constantly is because fighting games have girls in them, and here you can't ever hit a girl because chivalry or something.
Milady,
I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah, I'm firmly in the opposite side, right? it's not as like he didn't come out and say anything sexist in like blatant, like he blatantly didn't go like, oh, women aren't a match for Kiryu, or it's unfair that it's unfair to pin, like Kiryu could never lose to a woman. He's not saying that. He's just like, my character I do not think would fight women, and I don't want to put him in a position where he would do that, because I have creative control over my own game, and I don't make him do that. So I don't have to give my character creative control to somebody else who may make him do that. Like, I don't see a problem with that.
And there's something to that. There's something to like the theremin argument approach of like, if I never let him exist in a situation where he would ever fight a woman, then we don't ever have to deal with this question ever for hundreds and hundreds of hours of gameplay. We'll just never question this ever.
And that's okay. Like, he's not being blatantly sexist. He's just like, in my games, I follow a policy with Kiryu never fighting women. It's only coming up now because you've asked me this. But otherwise, the game doesn't like do anything to to frame it as if Kiryu... I agree
that he's not being blatantly sexist, but
it's still being sexist.
Yeah,
though.
Like that's the thing about like when it comes to like casual racism or casual sexism and so on. Like there's like aspects of like, it's like, oh, he doesn't have to say anything inflammatory or distressing because the passive assumption of how society works is just a thing that it goes by default. Like this is just like, if I just say like he doesn't hit women and don't really interrogate what that actually means and just hope no one else does either, then I get away with never saying anything sexist. And I'm not saying that he's like an openly hateful person or like has deep-seated problems. I'm saying like this is like an issue with gender roles and so on that can be a whole mess, but it's also like all these games are fighting tournaments, and like it's not really about who would be a fair fight. Like none of these games have weight classes in them. like it's like Zangief versus tiny people.
At first I thought like when you, Keith, said there's something to that, Andrew, and I'm leaning more on the Andrew side of things right now. At first I thought Keith was going to be his own sort of like counterpoint to this, because I was getting ready to be like the middleman here and just be like, there's a truth on both sides or something. Actually, I found a way to be there. I think what Andrew is saying here is more of the editorial control, or I guess it's authorial control. And just his character doesn't do that, and he doesn't want it, and it's fair, and it's sort of like a quirk. I respect that, honestly, from a authorial perspective, like, because the thing is, it's if you ask a character like that to do something lore breaking in in sort of a more traditional lore sense of things, do you know what I mean? Like, imagine, I don't know, a character who never uses computers and then goes on and cameos in a game where everybody uses computers. I'm just saying something ridiculous for the sake of an example. It's fair for the author to be like, I don't want to do that. That's not really something I'm interested in. What Keith is saying, I think, is very important, though, because
fighting people is what he does all the time.
Yeah, and I get that saying it like, oh, I don't want him in a fighting game because he has to fight women. I don't think he needed to specify that. I think he could have he'll literally
beat up like a teenager just to sober them up. Like not even like criminals and dangerous people, but like random people just get punched to solve their problems.
It's just like comedic fighting, though. Like nothing in Yakuza none of the combat in Yakuza is like realistic by any accounts. It's just like mindless funny nonsense.
The thing is the mindset that prevents him from putting women facing Ryuji. What's his name?
Kiryu,
yes. The thing that the mindset that prevents him from featuring women as villains or as adversaries that might end up fighting Kiryu is responsible for things like people saying women don't belong in the army, or they're not as strong as men, and that mattering, because it's like the thing about this sort of sexism isn't readily obvious.
Fine, here's the reset to reversion. Here you go, Andrew.
It isn't immediately obvious that I see a lot of people arguing that it's not really sexism against women; it's sort of sexism against men, because it's the men getting beaten up rather than the women. But the thing is, the way this works in society and in video games or in fiction as a reflection of society, the way it works is that the rights of a gender or people that are of a certain gender, in this case women, are taken away. And that doesn't, it's not the right to be beaten up by Kiryu, but it is the right to beat up Kiryu in this very fantasy sort of like very ridiculous thing because it's just a video game, right? But in real life, it is the matter. It is the case of the rights of women to go to the army, or to basically have equality in a lot of things that patriarchy protects them from, but protects them by removing their rights rather than by necessarily protecting them from exploitation. Because it's often juxtaposed to other sorts of exploitation, and I think Yakuza does from what I've seen anyway, does show that sort of ingrained sexism in society, and like from an authorial perspective, it's totally fair. You make a story about a society that is traditionally sexist, and I say traditionally, I mean traditional gender roles, where your main character only beats up men. But also the end result is that your storyline is all about men just going around beating each other up. And of course, it's a lot more complicated than that. But
I don't know. The more I read this, the even less I feel this is a valid argument. Like, he just doesn't want to see Kiryu hit women. There's nothing involved with like misogyny here. He personally does not want to see his character punching women. That is completely his own authority. It does not fucking matter at all there's no other hidden meaning to this. He just doesn't want to see his character punching women. Fine. No,
I disagree with the idea there's no additional meaning. I totally understand that that's exactly what he said, and he said nothing else, and he wasn't like, fuck all women and they're not allowed to do fighting and they would all crumple before him and women are allowed to be fighters and so on. Like, he didn't say any of that stuff.
He didn't say that, absolutely. I'm not saying
he creates a character with these rules, and those rules are going unquestioned, and if you question those rules, there's not a lot of answers you can land on that actually don't end up with some kind of sexist grounding to them, aside from the one where you're kind of doing where you just throw your hands up and don't go any further with it.
I guess, I just don't see an issue there.
Like, it's not that he's ill-intentioned, but that doesn't mean that
the creator's views on gender roles and so on.
And I think that's okay.
It's this idea of
as
chivalry,
long as it's not,
but like advanced chivalry, like this idea, like you can't conceive the idea of like women can't be fighters and they can't do anything and like that, and like so like the option just isn't there.
They can't belong to the Yakuza. They can't be mob bosses. Which
I don't know. A single Yakuza game straight up features like 300 characters over the course of its playthrough because of the sheer number of NPCs you encounter throughout it that are all named in some way and so on, and like it's all dudes forever. It's 5 billion dudes, and it's always a billion dudes. And then whenever a girl shows up, they're a cabaret worker or an office worker, or you need to escort them somewhere and save them from thugs. And they will never be allowed to take place in violence of any kind in particular. I haven't played Yakuza 7 yet. Because I have to play through 4, 5, Dead Souls 6, and then 7. But in that one, they finally added a female party member because they made it a group-based, turn-based RPG instead of the beat-em-up stuff. But even in that one, I'm like, oh, okay, her abilities are to flirt with people and hit them with her purse. And it's
that doesn't necessarily come from a bad
one
place.
Thing for accuracy, because I'm the representation of the genre for you guys, because you guys haven't played the games. But I do need to amend one thing, which is that in Yakuza 2, there is a woman that is in violence, but it's specifically she is a cop and she can only use a gun for the most part. But there is one scene where she gets to kick some ass in a cutscene. But of course, it's always specifically there's a badass. They're very rare, but in this case, it was a badass girl that's specifically on Kiryu's side. So there's no situation where they would ever actually clash that way. And
that reminds me
that way.
It reminds me of a game for the Sega Saturn. It was called Die Hard Arcade, I believe. And there were 2 characters that you could play, like this really muscly dude who just go around kicking and punching. And
Dynamite Cop.
What?
Yeah. This is the game. Yeah, I was always trying to play this with Andrew, and it's just, on the infinite to-do list. But it was a Die Hard arcade in the States, and it was called Dynamite Cop everywhere else, because it was just an unrelated game that was branded Die Hard retroactively.
That's why it's so weird.
That's why it has nothing to do with the with it.
The woman cop starts with a pistol, and she can punch and kick as well. But still, yeah, that's kind of.
Yeah, that game has nothing to do with Die Hard at all, but it is fucking fun. It's so fun. I randomly saw it in a pizza place when I was 8, and it became a hunt. Can I ever find this ever again? And at the age of
is
25,
it only for the Saturn?
I finally figured out that it's on Dreamcast.
I was just gonna say they have it on Dreamcast too.
I finally found out the reason I couldn't ever find it was because it was this fucking Dynamite Cop.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that this sort of sexism, because that's what it is, comes from a bad place or just from a conscious. It does come from an unquestioning nature of society, because if you start thinking about this stuff, you then you can't hit women, they're women, and then never thinking past that, and then it's then the entire half of the population that is women looking at this is okay. You go on, and it's it's the kind of choice that might be made with no women in the room, or with Japan's particular views on gender and so on.
Definitely no women in the room, and that's and again, it's I don't know. It's a situation that I don't think matters to me. It doesn't. It impacts
I'm sure it doesn't matter to you.
But I mean, I'm saying, in an overarching scheme, this matters nothing. This means nothing. It's just a nothing issue.
Well, for me, it's a bummer because I'm playing this incredibly long franchise now, and I'm really attached to it, and I don't like how this characterizes Kiryu. And it's kind of a floating question in the background, and it was there already before the interview. There was issues because specifically I played Yakuza 0 and I had a great time, and then I played Yakuza Kiwami, which is the remake of the first game, where they added a bunch of additional content and they redid the game from scratch in a new engine. It's not an up-res or anything. It's just a genuine remake. And it features both Kiwami 1 and 2 feature a large percentage of, but not all of, the quests from the original game. In particular, Kiwami 2, no, not Kiwami 2, actually weirdly 3, the re-release of 3, which was not a remake, it was just an up-res. They changed the content in it. They added some quests that weren't in the original US version, but also removed some, because there's an entire quest chain where a trans woman repeatedly stalks and assaults Kiryu and is constantly, it's a distressing representation of a trans woman.
Trope.
And they just fucking deleted that entirely. Nope, we're not bringing this along in the 2019 or 2018 re-release of the game. We're just gonna dodge this one. But specifically, Kiwami 1 has some weird slip-ups in particular, because you do get to fight female character models. And I say that specifically because of the specificity of that language is important. Because
are they drag?
They every single time they have to come up with an explanation for why the woman wasn't really a woman under the eyes of Kiryu, and that's why it was okay to hit them. And one of them does feature an assault, what's essentially an assault by what it seems to be either a man in drag or a trans woman, where I think specifically it's there's a sexual assault that happens and Kiryu loses health, and it's I don't like this. Oof. And there was at least 2 times in the game, if I remember correctly, where you fight a female character model, and it's explained why they weren't a woman under the eyes of the Japanese creators and so on. And it's I don't particularly like the feeling of this discussion. And so then having this interview come up afterwards, I'm I'm sad about this. Because the only thing that comes to mind is when you tell I wouldn't like Kiryu to hit women. It's the first thing that comes to mind is Street Fighter 3, 2, 1, go, and here's Chun-Li, and Kiryu's I'm sorry, but I cannot hit a woman, and it's what the fuck did you just say to Chun-Li? Who the fuck do you think you are? What the fuck? Because there's an inherent beneath me
but it's not
tone to that.
But it's not Kiryu wouldn't hit women. It's that the creator doesn't want to see him hit women.
Yeah, so they'll carefully warp all of reality around Kiryu to make this never be a possibility forever.
But the character itself is not a problem. Like,
but it just makes me sad.
By all accounts, he can beat the shit out of women. It's just that the creator you have to tiptoe around him because he doesn't
magically
want that.
never comes up over the course of several hundred hours
I'm not
of
sure
JRPG.
that makes it better. I'm not sure that makes it better because on the one hand,
not even counting Dead Souls, there are now 8 mainline Yakuza games, and like that's a long fucking franchise to just have an entire half of the population never once be a crime lord or a boss or any kind of like fucking femme fatale assassin ladies, like biker chick, anything, just literally anything you could add in that like
a character.
Like every anime ever would find moments where there would be a woman that does violence at some point that has these kinds of tones. Like,
I mean, it's tough because you're balancing two different issues. One is you're balancing
Japan.
You're balancing Japan's culture. You're balancing Japan's culture in 1988, which is definitely not pro hitting women. Like, if a man was hitting a woman in Japan in 1988, that guy
most of the Yakuza games are modern. Zero was a prequel that took place before he spent like 10 years in prison.
Then you have on top of that the Yakuza issue, which Yakuza follow their own set of culture and rules. So like there's a lot of barriers here to get to like an open world. You know, like this seems unfair. It's like yes, because you're looking at it from a modern perspective. But
I don't think it makes it better. If you're saying that it's not that the character doesn't want to hit women, is that the author doesn't want the character to hit women or see the character hitting women.
I would rather
on the one hand,
because that means that Kiryu doesn't hit women.
But the thing is, you could have a character who was like staunchly against hitting women, and even though that's a traditional attitude to have, and traditional gender roles and whatnot, it's still like a point that you can make, and it's a good point in a lot of aspects because
it can also be a point of
violence,
character growth if they have to actually come to clash with that ideology in some way. You can mine storytelling from that instead of just pretending that it's not a question forever.
I mean, I like that I prefer that it is the creator doesn't want to see Kiryu hit women, because it means that if he's gone, Kiryu can go and hit women.
Like, what a fucking way to phrase it.
But seriously, that's the thing, is that it's not Kiryu himself does not hit women. It's the guy who's running the show doesn't want him to do it. Which means that it's not Kiryu isn't sexist.
I don't know if the franchise would still exist if that creator left.
It could be.
I think it might be one of those ones.
Because here the thing is, it doesn't matter if the series does. They can just license that character out to a bunch of fighting games now. Like, oh well, the creator's gone, but guess what, guys? DLC.
He's coming for you, Chun-Li.
Yeah, he's every fighting game now has Kiryu in it. Like, because there's no rule that says that Kiryu can't hit women. It's just the creator's like, I'm the puppet master and I won't let it happen. And so if the publisher's like, all right, well, we don't want you anymore, Kiryu's gonna go hit women now, then they just send him to every fighting game.
Oh my god, you just phrase it in the worst way.
Because he makes it about hitting women.
Well, that's the thing, is like
it ends up not being, though, because that's the issue. Like, it's short, don't hit women, nice, it's a good thing. But
I mean,
that ends
that
up
regard, don't hit
storytelling.
People.
Don't hit
people for sure.
But Yakuza's a casual violence franchise.
It ends up with storylines that don't feature women, or feature women in just very limited roles, like housekeeping or courtesans. That's the characters I can think of from my Yakuza 3, because that's the last game I saw.
Yakuza.
Because did you watch all? Have you been watching all the Yakuza playthroughs?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like all the women a huge percentage of them are cabaret workers.
Yeah,
and, like,
absolutely.
Sex workers and
they
so
have
on.
to be. That's the whole premise, is that Yakuza wouldn't hurt women like physically. They would just force them into like the sex trade. There was no way they would like beat the shit out of them. They just go like, all right, we're gonna make you a prostitute. We're gonna make you a cabaret girl.
Or
like,
there are these moments
girl.
where you're like I think there was like whole cabaret storylines in Kiwami too, where you'd work up the charm with each individual cabaret worker, and then you'd essentially go on a date with them. Whereas more so than a date, it was like a employee. It was like an employee-employer sort of meeting interaction where you get to know them better over coffee or something, and then over the course of those storylines, they would come into conflict with somebody. And what was really like comically consistent is that like they would come in contact with another woman that they're in conflict with, and then there's this big storyline about all the conflict and the reasons for it, and then their proxy men have to fight. Like some random thug dude you've never heard of before will show up to like fight on behalf of the other woman, and you're fighting on behalf of your cabaret woman. And it's like, what the fuck? I don't even know this guy. And they had to invent a whole new character just because they can't ever let the women fight. Like they're terrified.
No, that totally makes sense.
It does, like,
and like women's
that is totally canonical. You would definitely have brothel women have men who would fight for them. Like that is a normal ass thing. Absolutely. That is absolutely normal.
It makes the game like
it's just the consistency of it, though.
It feels weird, sure.
There's always
like,
another excuse. There's always another reason why this woman will never get their hand dirty.
Yeah, but it's a whole other world.
Like, especially in a game that reliably does side quests where fighting shouldn't even be involved, but somehow you end up beating the dude like 3 times until he learns the lesson that he shouldn't, I don't know, scam people or something.
I just know there's going to be like a punchy girl in like 5 or something, and everyone's going to say the same. Like the comments are already typing. There's like 10 identical comments that all point to the same character, but the fact that they're doing that highlights the disparity. It's like, aha, in the 6th game of the franchise, we finally added the one punchy girl, but she's still not going to fight Kiryu. But she is a punchy girl. She punches people. Look at her go. And like it's like, wow, an 8-game franchise, and there's an exception. That doesn't speak to any larger trend at all. And once again, like I love this franchise. I want to play all of them, and they're great. But it's just, there's a thing that I have as a takeaway. It's just like how like I'm really digging Berserk. I'm reading the fuck out of these each time a new volume comes in, because I'm doing the deluxe editions where like every few months I read another big tome of Berserk, and that's fun. And there's a lot of shit about it that's really cool. And I'm also the versions I'm buying are giant pages, so it's some real good large art, and it's good. But boy, sure got mixed feelings about Casca. Like Casca's like, she's a great character, and she's completely 100% on board, and even ahead of a lot of the male characters in the crew. And she's scrappy, and she fights and all this shit, and she's a leader, and she's a great character, and for a lot of reasons. But boy, the game, like the. If I chronicle every sexual assault or rape that happens in the entire storyline so far, there's one that wasn't Casca. Maybe.
No.
And it's a really prominent one, and it's a big deal that happened to the other character.
I think you're heavily overglossing.
But the number of times that the times that they fight like a mercenary dude, and then the mercenary dude warps into like a monster dude, and then he rips Casca's top off, and then tentacles are going towards her vagina, and I'm like, oh, we're doing this again. And then like 3 chapters later, it's like, oh, we're doing this again. Like it's like the number of like almost back-to-back times it starts to happen. I'm like, okay, come on. Like one time I'm already like a little, but then it happens multiple times. I'm like, all right, come on. There's like other plot points you can have besides let's assault Casca in a sexual manner for being as the female character specifically. I'm like, she could just get injured or see something unspeakably horrifying, and other things can happen, which also all those things happen too. But like, you don't need to specifically zero in on like, hey, the one female character is going to get weirdly sexually assaulted a few too many times in a row. And it's like, I don't, no.
That's a weird mixture of the fridging of female characters and the sexual assault as character development tropes. Because on the one hand, you see a lot of female characters have be sexually assaulted and then use that as a character development point. That's just one of those things that happens reliably.
This is all in the background of noise of knowing that Rape Horse is coming.
Like it's
like,
really
I know
tough,
Rape Horse exists because everyone talked about him because of Ludwig and Bloodborne, and that's also a similar, like, there's a character that's trying to rape a woman, and I'm like,
Oh, so wait, you haven't even seen Rape Horse yet?
No.
Okay, yeah. So
what
you're talking about is
the eclipse has just happened.
Yes, so,
and so like
it
I've only seen so much so far. But so I'm saying in the context of what I've seen so far, I'm like, okay, there's been like 3 or 4 sexual assault and rape things, and they're pretty much exclusively Casca over and over again. And I'm like, okay, come on.
That happens up for like it happens up until the Wait, where are you right now?
What?
Like, because I don't want to spoil.
I'm trying not to spoil things for the audience specifically. Besides,
so if you haven't gone to Rape Horse yet,
window,
once you experience
which now there's the issue of trying to explain Rape Horse to the audience.
You don't have to. Once you experience that, the sexual assaults towards Casca just cease, like, dramatically. Because from there on,
dramatically, that's not a good
dramatically, like, you almost never see them. And the reason is because the author goes, wait a second, this is really stupid. Everyone's getting raped all the time. It's fucking
it's like that one
it's
meme.
Medieval times. People just do it all. Who's gonna stop them? Like, the narrow, like, it seems stupid. Like, the author goes from the
Let's see, I can actually check my index here.
Like, he goes from the eclipse and goes, okay, I think I'm leaning too heavily in this part. I'm just gonna, like, expand out and go, like, it's not just, like, I need to stop focusing it in. It's just a thing. It's part of the world. This is a problem that just happens in this time period. And you stop seeing it so, like, in your face.
It becomes a little bit more
so I have
about the world rather than about the character.
I have Deluxe 5, 6, I think 6 comes out this month, actually. Deluxe 5 ends on chapter 91, volume 13. Which sounds like really big numbers now that I look at it. Holy fuck, this is a long series.
It's 16 pages each. That's
for me, it's like volume 5, but it's like I'm already in volume 13.
There's 357 chapters.
Yeah.
So, what you said, chapter 91?
But no, overall, like, Berserk is fucking compelling. Well, even beyond, like, just the, like, obviously, like, the constant Dark Souls stuff that I'm doing on the channel and everything, like, for hundreds and hundreds of episodes, like, eventually it's like I want to know about all these Berserk references that are supposedly in these games and get some context for that stuff. But also just when it comes up enough, it's like this. I want to know what this story is because it seems like it might be good. And there's a lot of really interesting things about Berserk, but, like, that does, like, really in these first 100 chapters that specifically stood out to me, where I'm like, okay, one was a lot already, and here we go.
Yeah,
please stop.
I mean, and unfortunately that's the easiest way to get a rise out of people, is because Casca is just, like, the best character in the series, and to, like, put her into a state where she's that vulnerable is infuriating to watch, because you're like, come on, man, this is nothing. This woman could, like, break this guy's neck 7 times in a row if she wanted to. This is absolutely shitty.
That's why the fridging trope is harmful, though.
Well, it's not even that. It's just
What's the idea? Like, this woman will make you feel things, so we're gonna hurt her.
Yeah, because you're not even centering the woman. You're not even centering the victim.
In this case, it's like she's enough of her own character that she doesn't exist purely as somebody else's motivation. Okay. So she's pretty well rounded and has a lot going on.
No, she's a great character. Everything about her is amazing. She has great character growth during the beginning before the eclipse. There's a lot of it's just such a good character, and then he just goes like, all right, the character's gone now. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, why did you do this? And yeah, so that's how you get a rise out of people, is because you have this great character, people love her, and then you go like, yeah, but what if she's a vulnerable every encounter? And you're like, yeah, I guess I'm getting a rise out because I'm frustrated.
It is a threat that's fulfilled in that a lot of prominent characters just die, like, all the time in this storyline, and so you don't know if it's going to happen or not.
And unfortunately, there's, like, the part of me that's like, well, yeah, but the nice part is that anything that threatens Casca gets just immediately obliterated by Guts, so it's really fun to see. Like, it just pisses him off, so he just, like, annihilates whatever's in front of her. So it's really great. I mean, that's the plus side. It's like, oh no, this tentacle monster, yeah, but it's about to get turned into fucking, like, salami in a second. Like, and, you know, like, that's my motivation to keep reading in a sense. It's just like, yeah, but Gus is gonna murder it, like, really murder it. Like,
yeah, but there's still like the part of me that's just like,
no, yeah,
but the creator's real fixated on like not only is there gonna be like an implied rape, but it's gonna be like how do I make it worse? Like, oh, it's this like big like torso-sized tentacle, and it's covered in spikes, and it's like and it's got mouths on it. Maybe like he goes so fucking far, and I'm like, okay, come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, and again, there's
like
no
the
other
third
motivational.
time. Stop.
Yeah, because after the eclipse, there's not really anything to, especially in the very beginning, at post eclipse. It's really hard to do anything when there's only 2 people. You know, you're like, what are the stakes? Well, Guts ain't gonna die. Like, you know, you're kind of just like, well, I know this guy ain't gonna die. So, like, the only thing you could do is threaten Casca. And it eventually will get to a point where you're like, oh, that's why I say, like, he eventually tapers out, because he goes, oh, wait, there's, like, I don't have to do this anymore. I can just back off. There's actual threats and stakes now. I don't have to, like, be, over the top. I don't have to, like, do this like threat of rape every encounter. And it's like, now he just focuses on like, yeah, this is a thing in the world, you just have to worry about this, and it's not just these characters, like everyone in the world has to worry about this problem. And so that's, yeah, once that happens, you're kind of like, oh, thank goodness, all right, we'll just kind of take a step back from this whole thing, right? And it's like, yeah, now you just see it happening in the background, you're like, oh god, great. you're more disappointed because you're like, well, nothing's gonna happen from, like, nothing's going to prevent that one. So awesome. And then you just have to endure. Because, like, that's the thing. He switches it from being like, oh, it's a dumb threat, but it's preventable, to like, oh, God, yeah, this is actually a real problem and no one's going to take care of this, are they? But it's not happening to the main character, so it's not a problem, you know? like, great. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough. Again, Berserk it leans really heavily on 2 types of emotional...
And the worst thing happened. Yes, here it goes.
Yeah, that's Berserk's entire thing. Is like, how can we make this situation more unsettling, more uncomfortable, and worse? And it's always, well, either death and rape, or death rape. And you're like, well, what is death rape? And you're like, exactly. And then you don't. Yeah, it just that's it. That's all he's got under his sleeve. It's those 2 things.
This video is gonna be a yellow dollar sign.
Yeah, yellow dollar sign. But
on the YouTube out.
But that's just Berserk. Yeah, I there's nothing I can defend because I also don't like it. I don't enjoy reading that stuff, so it is annoying to me when I see it, and so I agree.
I always got the impression that it's not necessarily meant to be enjoyed like that.
Well, Berserk isn't a feel-good shonen. It's not like, oh, guys, we're going to save the world. It is not
empowering on any level. It's a fucking nightmare.
It's a selfish hero's quest where Guts' only prerogative is to get Casca back to how she was before. And
I haven't read it, but like one of the closest things I can think of was like what I get, the impression I get from Gantz O or Gantz Zero is like, it's the Berserk thing where like there's a character who just has this. You have a character or characters that are just in a situation that they cannot ever escape, presumably, and it's just going to get more violent and worse. And on a global scale, absolutely everything is getting worse, and it's affecting everyone. And you're just following people that are kind of just trapped in this endless thing, just trying to get through the next chapter, essentially, and then the next chapter will somehow just escalate further. And it's not in like the power fantasy thing of like, aha, after Frieza is Cell and Boo and so on, where it's like the previous encounter but more stronger, so I gotta like become more stronger again to beat it. It's like every single one is just like grim and distressing and there's not really like the fun cathartic aspect of it at all. It's just a fucking weird ride. But it's strange. It's strangely compelling.
It reminds me of Tsubasa Chronicles. I didn't watch the show until the end. I did read the manga, but it's basically the same premise. Somebody needs to be restored, and it's I say somebody, but it's she needs to be restored, and he needs to help her. And it's also the same pattern of removing agency from her. Although I don't know if Casca if she's being sexually assaulted, then
Casca has no agency. She's literally just a sack of potatoes. And
that pattern is basically tied into precisely what is the problem with what the conversation, how the conversation started. It's just the removal of agency from women, and that happens in fiction as a result of the way the world is, in terms of, the world is sexist. So, people who unquestioningly see the world the way it is, they represent it in fiction. Although maybe sometimes it's on purpose, other times it's, with the best of intentions, as is the case with Yakuza.
I don't know. It's I don't want to spoil anything.
Oh yeah, don't spoil. There's no need for that.
But
that's a dangerous sentence. I don't want to spoil anything.
So I don't want to. I don't want to spoil anything, but I don't think that logic applies to Berserk.
I'm not saying that it's forever like that. I'm just saying that it's a pattern. Because I was thinking of Tsubasa Chronicles, but I thought of another one that was similar to that one as well, and I forget which one it is. It's the whole anime was about restoring some. I don't know. I don't remember. Because you were talking and I was just thinking.
There's definitely just an aspect, these two things are kind of an interesting parallel to some extent, where there's just the issue of if you're a woman consuming media, there's this weird feeling that due to representation, there's this idea that you're more likely to be raped than to be somebody who can fight.
Yeah.
And it's because one of these things people have really big misgivings about representing in their media, it's a problem, and they're no, I can't show a woman doing fighting or getting hit, but rape is weirdly common, and that, and the fact that there's a weird leap past one thing towards the other one is so, it can be so strange to witness on a macro scale.
Because rape removes power, and fighting, even though you're defending yourself, that's inherently empowering. That's the reason. It might not be conscious, but if you think about it, then it becomes conscious, because it's just, there's no other explanation for it. It's just how it goes. The reason women can't fight in the army, or I'm just using it as an example because obviously they can these days, depending on the country. The reason is because you're removing their agency and removing their power. That's,
Yeah, and there's an aspect of in one way, it's okay, well, one of these is a way worse version of violence against women than the other one is. So why is it somehow more common? But it's because they both fit in the same narrative of these are two different versions of women aren't empowered. Yeah,
absolutely.
They're both situations where the woman doesn't have agency and can't defend themselves and can't do what they want. But specifically, they're always passive. Mm-hmm. So that's the through line.
Just as an added thing, because it's all about the power as well. The other aspect of representation of sexual assault in media, primarily aimed towards women, also has to do with the using the bodies of women as props, and it again ties into how I keep saying Ryuji, but it's not. It's Kiryu. That's the one. That also ties into how the author of Yakuza doesn't want Kiryu to beat women, which is that you're not centering the character of the woman, you're centering her body. Even though it is fictional, obviously, but it's also it's intimately related to how the body of a woman is used in media and is objectified. That's for me anyway, it's the easiest way to understand objectification and how it happens and when it happens is to specifically observe how the feminine body is used in media and how it's also used in when I say media, I mean, I don't just mean fiction. We're talking about fiction, but it's all the other media as well. And it's detached from the person, and it's never understood as well, it's not. It's never understood, but it's rarely understood as part of the character.
I just think people are fucking lazy. They just don't have better ideas to be shocking than that.
It's just
people fall back on previous assumptions and just the default things that people already and it's a lot of stuff that is casually sexist and so on in media are often just kind of tropes being repeated uncritically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm doing things because I grew up with media that would bring up these kinds of things, and I'm not really questioning why. And I'm just gonna kind of regurgitate the culture around me.
And that happens with any sort of discrimination, really. It's really when there's a kickback from when you call somebody out for being discriminatory in their writing, and you say, "Hey, you shouldn't do this." And it's really when they just sort of double down and are like, "Oh yeah, well, I'm gonna write a book about this man who dresses like a woman." I'm talking about J.K. Rowling, but the example applies.
Yeah, to me, when it comes to media, there's obvious, like, if I see a trope, I just generally ignore it because I don't.
What does that mean?
So, like, it's forgettable for me when
I see what
tropey stuff happens, because to me it's just like, yeah, okay, I get it, you're gonna do the thing, and you just like move on from it. You don't retain it to memory because it's not worth.
You forget the entire plot happens.
No, like I forget, like a good example is
or you just forget that it is a trope.
Yeah, not that I forget it as a trope. I just forget that other people might see that trope negatively because I'm so used to seeing that trope. Where it's like, to me, it's already negative, but I don't think more about that. I don't go like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that trope again. It's like, oh yeah, that trope. And I just move on from it.
Doesn't that affect your enjoyment of certain media? Wouldn't you say that?
Well, sure, because again, it's lazy. You're not thinking critically. You're just like, or not thinking, but you're not being creative. You're just like, yeah, I can just do, like, haha, trans women in Japanese are always quite crazy. And it's like, sure, all right, whatever, man. And you just kind of like move on from it. You don't think about it. The character isn't really interesting or important.
Distressingly like sexual predators.
Yeah, they're always either really flamboyant to the point of like, you can't even mistake them as anything but what they are. Or they're like really creepy about it, where they're trying too hard to get with the main character who's clearly not swinging that way, because who would? Because haha, only weirdo people do that.
That would be gay, am I right, fellas?
Yeah, exactly. And so again, you kind of like, well, again, for me, I just swing past it because it's like, all right, unmemorable character, throwaway, garbage. I don't have to pay attention. It's like, who gives a shit?
I think there's a certain. I think I do that as well, to a certain extent. Like, for example, one of my favorite franchises, not really, it's a series of books, basically, Lord of the Rings. I really enjoy those, and I every few years go back in and read them again. It's full of that sort of, well, certainly it's not full of women. It has very, very few female characters, since we're talking about representation here. But it's also full of just ingrained notions that are just blatantly discriminatory, and to the point that really the best way for me to understand the books is to see them as some sort of like mythology sort of thing being written from a this is not really what happened, it's just this made up story, because some stuff just doesn't work in the modern day, and I don't think it ever worked for me, even though I read the books like 20 years ago.
But that's when they were written.
But I think for somebody in the beginning of the 20th century reading that and seeing the orcs and the way they are described and the role that they have, or just not having any female characters throughout the whole thing, those are the two that come to mind, honestly, the two most important, I think. It wouldn't be a problem.
Good example of the idea of a thing just being regurgitated uncritically.
Yeah. I think
Lord of the Rings, the orcs from all the orcs. Like, you just like, orcs have been used in previous popular things, so they just infinitely replicate into every other form of media. But then, like, only in recent years, people are like, is the discussion actually happening with the idea of like, wait a minute, is the entire origin of the concept of orc like a racist concept based around distressing things about other races written by a white guy? Then it's like, maybe we went a little too far without ever questioning this.
And yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, I think Tolkien himself sort of understood the limitations of his own writing, so that's why I think I prefer to think of Lord of the Rings as written as a sort of like, this is like a Bible, or it's not supposed to be like the literal thing that happened, just the story that we have over here. You know what I mean? Yeah. And sort of forgive that everything is black and white. There's such a thing as elemental evil, or just the whole biological determinism of the race as a concept throughout the whole setting is just super worrisome. But it's just written like that, and I think it works for me. It works if I forget those things and just not really think critically. But if I want to think critically about that, like I think like it does diminish my enjoyment. But in the moment when I'm reading and when I'm just thinking about it, it's like, I don't know. I think if that's what Andrew's saying,
it's like we watch all the Harry Potter movies and you're just having a fun adventure. But then every now and then, maybe even when you're not watching Harry Potter, but just like a week later, you're just like, yeah, but why do all of the goblins control the bank and they look like that? Like they control all the money and they've got giant noses, and I'm like,
they're Jewish goblins. Is that really hard to parse through? Like, you don't have to. I don't know.
I'm not like, my point isn't to pretend that I don't understand why she did that.
Of course.
My point is that it's just it's one of those things where like a thing kind of just spreads around uncritically. But it becomes a thing where it's like it's mass media, where it's a hyper popular franchise that a bunch of people are exposed to all the time, and so it's worth questioning what that impact, how that can impact society potentially, if it's reinforcing certain ideas potentially.
Yeah,
like, we're in an area of a neo-Nazi resurgence, and there's anti-Semitic tropes in the Harry Potter franchise. That's not great news.
But it's on purpose.
It's not. It doesn't single-handedly make me go like, let's cancel all of Harry Potter. Other things do that more, but specifically, there's J.K. Rowling
herself. She cancels it good.
Like, she doesn't even need like rope. She has a fucking she has a rope factory. She has a closet of nooses. It's endless.
My God,
it's just never has someone hung themselves more times. Them on their own,
and she's still making more money than.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
but God, it's like her and Roseanne. It's that's the company she keeps at this point.
I don't know. It's
that's true.
It's weird to me.
My point isn't like, fuck you, creator of Yakuza, and fuck you, Tolkien. How dare you? Lord of the Rings is canceled. But it's not.
Fuck Tolkien.
No, it's just like these particular. But it's just like acknowledging that there are ideas that are regurgitated by some of these franchises that are worth questioning, and that's the to piss off everybody. That was basically the point of the Tropes versus Women series with Anita Sarkeesian and so on. Like, people got really, really, really fixated on the idea.
God. I don't want to talk about feminism here.
Oh my God. It's been like 8 years and we're still not emotionally prepared to process this topic. You don't understand how, like,
PTSD.
If somebody says Anita, I just see red, and then I go straight to the comments section, and then I just start doxing people.
Why did you have to bring politics into the podcast?
Oh my God. Yeah, we got all this time into the podcast with no politics, but I said Anita Sarkeesian, and now it's just over.
He said it again.
That's it. Video games are canceled.
Let's just say it a few more times.
That's it. We're done. Wrap it up. Clap, Nintendo. Shut the fucking doors. Can't have Mario in this sexist pro era. Not gonna have Princess Peach saved. No, it's gonna be more like
that's a good
Mario
example,
gets saved by Princess Peach.
If they cancel me for saying Anita, then they're the cancelers. Checkmate.
No.
Oh my God.
That's your shield.
It's the infinite irony is that is the implication that it comes from one side when it's like everyone fucking calls for cancellation all the time, and it's just like a nonsense.
God, I hate cancel culture. What a shitty fucking waste of time.
But like the whole point of that series was the idea of talking about a trope, and the difference is that because there's another channel that has the same show. But without the same like spine behind it, and I don't mean that as in like, oh, you're weak because you don't have I don't mean spineless that way. I mean like it doesn't have like the same uniting theme behind it of a point. But Overly Sarcastic Productions, a channel I like a lot, has an entire series on tropes. But because they usually dance around the more controversial topics, they don't have the same backlash. But it's the same episode. Like, if you look at Trope Talk by Overly Sarcastic Productions, a show that many of you are already watching because it's very popular, it has basically the same exact structure as the Tropes versus Women series did. Their video game tropes in video games versus women, or whatever that awkward name was for that series, because I think there was Tropes versus Women before that, and then video game Tropes versus Women was the specific one where people got real angry. But that was because it was specifically a series of feminist topics as opposed to just general topics. But like in overly sarcastic productions, like every single time it's like, okay, here's this idea of a trope, and here's what it potentially means. Here's why people use it in a storyline, and here's some of the iffy things about it and why it can be good and strong, but also can fall into pitfalls. Because that's the thing about tropes, is tropes are not inherently negative. They are just a reoccurring concept, either a theme or a device in a storyline. And we tell stories almost entirely in tropes sometimes. Yeah. And so like it's just an observation, like, hey, this is a particular thing that comes up a lot. Like from this channel, I learned about the concept of a lancer, because I was like, what the fuck is a lancer? Because you talk about these like particular groupings, like if you make 5 anime boys that are all going to go on an adventure, they're going to have like certain personality types, most likely, just like in like Ninja Turtles and so on. Like
Red is really good about that,
your personalities and certain archetypes. Otherwise, otherwise you might make them all the same person. Because they have to have conflict, but not enough conflict that they're not on the same team, and so on and so forth. But
you always have the leader and the guy who wants to be the leader, and the guy who's a mediator between them, and the guy who just doesn't give a fuck, and everybody's kind of weird about that guy.
You have to have a klutz. You have to have... I don't know.
The klutz is usually the go-in-between, like the guy who's mediating between.
Like it's like how TMNT has like the there's the awkward, funny, gets into trouble character. There's the fucking loner rebel guy. There's the nerd, and there's the leader, and like that, and like there's variations of that a lot. And like
basically
so
think of Lord of the Rings.
Raphael is the Lancer.
And you got it.
Raphael's Vegeta.
Yeah.
And like that, then like, and it's really interesting learning those stuff via that channel and so on. But it's really funny watching that. Like it's like the same. Obviously, there's a slight difference. Trope Talk is kind of, it has like an extra credits tone where it's like the fast talking and like the higher voice and like the slideshow effect and all that. But like it's functionally the same show on a structural level, and the whole, and like if you don't engage with that structure in an intellectually honest way, where you meet it on its own terms of what it's even supposed to be trying to say, then your brain turns off and you lose your mind trying to sit through this, because these are both shows that are about an endless series of examples of an idea to illustrate not only the ways that an idea can be expressed, but also the frequency in which it is expressed. Because one, you're trying to reinforce the idea of like, okay, here's how this idea can be used, but also you want to show evidence that this idea is used a lot so that you can argue that it is a trope to begin with. Like, that whole thing has to happen. And so people
it really trains your brain as well. Thinking about that, think about things like that trains your brain whenever you're seeing something new, and it just educates you in probably the least moralistic way of the word, or moralistic sense of the word. It educates you for new media that you consume, and you can enjoy. I think you can enjoy media better and have more pleasure when you are
just kind of understanding these ideas. And it's also like it's interesting oftentimes because you're learning more about things that you kind of already know, because you're watching media constantly, because that's like our world. It's like there's this constant media. You're reading books, or you're listening to podcasts, and you're watching YouTube videos, and you're watching movies and TV shows and reading comics and so on and so forth, and playing video games, and they all have these structures behind them, and you're picking up on them whether you realize it or not. And so having a word for it and learning more about the thing mostly just gives you a better understanding of the thing you're already engaging with, and helps you kind of be more critical of the thing and learn more about it. And also, and sometimes remember it better, and sometimes appreciate stuff more when it does things well. And also, like, a lot of media is built entirely around subversion, and subversion doesn't work as well if you don't understand the things in the first place that are happening. Like, that's
not necessarily true. Look at Fight Club.
Well, that's people failing to understand Fight Club and being like they're just being fascists. There's like, I love Fight Club. It tells me fascism's good. Oh no, you aren't good at media analysis.
Or RoboCop. I've heard some people talk about
art.
RoboCop.
You failed art.
I've heard some people talk about RoboCop.
Not.
Oh, I've never watched Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry is not a pro loose cop movie. it's as a franchise it becomes that eventually, but like the movie is that I'll never get over the fact that when I said that art is political, somebody's fucking like counterpoint was Dirty Harry. I'm like, do you understand anything? What the fuck? Your example of an apolitical piece of art was Dirty Harry? You're horrible at this. That's embarrassing.
What about Judge Dredd then? That's not political at all. Mad Max.
It's always that infographic of cyberpunk fiction where people like or of all the ideas being expressed by cyberpunk, and then everyone's like, cool arm lasers, woo. Oh Jesus. But yeah, like the to rewind to the idea though was just that like people see Red because they're already mad at the reputation that the Anita has, because a lot of that's like churned entirely outside of her own behavior to an extent. Like there's a lot of like entire YouTube channels that built a career out of just being mad at her, and all of their content has more viewership than any of her stuff ever did. And like, so it's endless insular feedback loop of people basically just representing her however the hell they feel like, and in many cases just making shit up. And the audience will never actually engage with the real source material that's being criticized here, so they won't know what her videos were even like to begin with, and that's its own problem. But also, like, if you're already seeing Red and you refuse to engage with this media on its own terms, then you're just going to see the list of games that comes up, and instead of actually thinking about the trend as a whole that she's illustrating throughout all those games, like, how here's this trope and here's a bunch of games that have this trope and so on, you're going to get laser focused on like trying to disprove every individual game on a 1-by-1 basis. And if any of them you can disprove, you're like, haha, I've defeated this video and I've conquered it. I can now stop watching it. And I've had multiple conversations with people where they just check out because the list happens and they find like one example. They're not quite satisfied with the idea that it reinforces the thing she was saying. Therefore, they've beaten the video and the video is bad or something. And I'm like, yeah, but all of those videos illustrate a trend. All of those games illustrate a trend collectively, and it's like at some point, like because I've seen the videos, like it's like disingenuous to like pretend the entire list is bad just because you found an iffy example, and it's like
not that I necessarily want to defend people who attack Anita Sarkeesian. I will concede that it is sometimes difficult to like we can be talking about the same movie, the same piece of fiction. And point to a thing and just say that this can be interpreted. Like a simple example of some we saying that the is it goblins in the
art is in many ways very very subjective, which is part of the reason to make such a big list is because you need to talk about a number of them, because if your one example is not everyone can agree on that, then it's hard to illustrate your idea.
But I don't doubt that there are people who look at the whole list and just don't see, by not seeing like a clear, delineated, unquestioning or unquestionable example anywhere. They're like, oh, this could be interpreted in another way. They just disregard it wholesale. You know what I mean? Because like it's perfectly possible for people to look at the same thing and understand it the same way and just give it different values and different weights of how relevant it is, and that's how people develop opinions at the end of the day. Really, it's just that you value some things other than other things, and I'm not trying to equate both sides here. What I mean is,
it's literally like this podcast is an example of that.
Yeah,
the Kiryu topic with Andrew and so on. Like you have completely different like reads on the idea, and that's how this works.
If you see, the thing is, if you got into the whole issue by watching Daring or whatever that dude now is, or I don't know. This is some big channels. So many big. The Quartering, yes, that's the one. If you just listen to their videos, and just
God rest your soul.
Yeah, that too. But if you enjoy listening to them and you agree with them, it's going to be difficult for you to break out of that if you don't make an effort, because that's the role. That's the rule for everywhere in life. Everywhere, if you don't make an effort to try to think a little bit critically, you're not going to break out of your habits, and you're just going to be stuck in however mode you're thinking. It doesn't matter what mode you're thinking you are. If you don't try, am I really right? Let me think a little bit about this, a little bit from the other perspective. And then
everyone on the planet is way more a victim to their own tribalism and the sides they've picked than they can possibly be aware of. Like like we're like hardwired to be incapable of self-criticizing on this particular way. And it's like people have to like, they're like, it has to be so romantic. Like people have to be like backed into like a separate, they have to feel safe. And they have to feel alone and unjudged, and like there has to be the right amount of like candles and incense lit. And then suddenly somebody might just see the right video in the right context where an idea slips in before the emotions take hold, and then they have to deal with that idea. And they didn't realize, it didn't signal fast enough that it was a thing they were supposed to be mad about based on all their preconceptions. And so the idea got in before the mad reaction to the idea got in. And then they grapple with it, and they might end up changing as a person. But that's like, it's a fucking phalanx, man. Like everyone's got a phalanx, and it's like bulletproof. I mean,
it's important to note that what I'm saying and what you're saying is not a defense to people who say, "Oh, you shouldn't be aggressive when you're defending." No,
it's an explanation.
Yeah, it's an explanation. Like policing the tone of people who are constantly harassed, like Anita Sarkeesian and others. Who are constantly not prosecuted, that's not the word, but like harassed basically, and for them to be mad and for people to be mad about people's shitty attitude, that's totally warranted. I'm not trying to pretend and I don't think you're trying to pretend either, that the best attitude to have is to always be nice to the people who just think bigoted things, and just always try to be, cater to their sensibilities and be like, oh, but do you want?
Because if we ever antagonize them, how will we ever bring them to our side? We should just act like they're right all the time. Apparently, that's like, I don't know what the fucking implied solution's supposed to be.
Like, people need to come to their own realizations on their own terms. And if those own terms is to, be badly received by people, then that's how it goes. Because, sometimes if you're a jerk and people are mad at you for being a jerk, that's the way for you to stop being a jerk. Other times it's just you get worse. I don't know.
And if you haven't... if you're one of those people out there that heard about the Anita Sarkeesian controversies and whatnot, but you still haven't actually watched the series, like, just go watch her series. Just actually go watch the video game series that everyone was so mad about. You'll be shocked because, like, for years, people literally made a career out of attacking the series and her as a person. And in many cases, she was putting out like one video every like 3 to 6 months. But in that time, an individual channel would make 24 videos about her or more. Like, they would just fucking churn them out. There was always another thing they could come up with to talk about, because, like, they had that content machine where they had to keep riling up their base every day, because that's how the YouTube, that's feeding the YouTube algorithm. You got to have your weekly content where you just, like, are mining those views. It's like how fucking the coordinating will like yell about cartoons he doesn't even watch because he thinks that people will be mad about it, or at least he can make them mad about it if he brings it up in the right context. Like, it's just it's a dishonest grifter outrage machine. It's just embarrassing shit. He's an embarrassing, sad, shitty person. And I know that because I've seen his content, unlike all the people that talk about Anita half the time. But, like, you'll be shocked how fucking boring the video game series is. Like, I learned things. Like, a few of those videos taught me, if not things if not ideas that I'd never heard of, at least gave me a word for things that I'd kind of observed but didn't know how to articulate that particular idea, like Missman or fridging and stuff like that. Like, this idea, like, there is fully fledged character boy, and then the girl one, and stuff like that. And then, of course, fridging was like, I think I had literally not heard of fridging before, and now that I've actually heard of it, I have like a way more context for a lot of storylines, because I'm like, shit. Because once upon a time in a superhero comic, I think it was Green Lantern, somebody just came home and like their wife was in the fridge because they were like dead. I think it was the Green Lantern. I think it was Hal Jordan or something like that. And like it's like the idea of like, oh, you killed this female character as motivation for the male character. It's like the more final version of damseling and so on. It's like this character exists in the storyline to be the motivation for the male character, and like that's just an observation. And like she specifically says that, like, she specifically makes the point in the series that, like, part of being critical of media is like a part of enjoying media is being critical of it. It's like you can enjoy media and want it to be better at the same time. And like that's the preface of the entire series. This idea like video games are not evil, and the people that make these video games are not evil. but here's a particular trope that is kind of harmful, and here's why it's not great, and here's an examples of how it's so common. And like, shouldn't we question why that's super common? And the idea there is that the idea there is not that each individual thing that uses that trope is individually bad, but like there's a collective wrong from the fact that it's happening so constantly. And the very existence of her content being there to be like, hey, let's just actually stop for a moment and think about this for a second. That's all. That's winning. She wins. That's the only goal, is to have everybody stop there and think about it. Because if you stop and actually think about it, you're no longer regurgitating tropes uncritically. You are making a choice from then forth if you do use that trope or not. And it's so telling as well.
Sometimes there's some authors that will use tropes on purpose like that they know are tropes, and it's also very telling that they are using tropes knowingly.
In other cases, people will use them thoughtfully. They'll be specific, I'm going to use this trope, and I know that there's some issues with it, but I specifically have, like, I think I've done the cost-benefit analysis here, and I'm like, the way I'm going to use this is worth going down this path, and I'm going to do something interesting with this. And, like, it makes all of our stories and art better. It's a win for everyone.
The budget for that. No one ever fucking does that.
The budget?
Watch so much fucking media where it's like, yeah, here's a trope. Okay. And
let's just do it.
Are you going to do anything with it? And they're like, yeah, that's it. That's the trope.
It's the hero's journey.
Don't just give me a trope. Give me something with the trope. Like, yeah, are you going to subvert it? Are you going to build on it? Are you going to somehow make this tie into your story? No, I just want a trope. Okay, fine. Fuck off then. I don't have time for this. Like,
anime is full of that. More so recent years, because I think there's been a boom in how many anime series have been produced, for less than years.
Anime has there are hundreds of hours of things you could talk about why anime is like such a fucking shitty medium, and it's like you could talk the amount. There's like hundreds of things you could talk about with anime why it's a shitty medium, and it just triples in scope the more you progress. So like anime is like, it's isolated because it's only from one place, so it's shitty, but it has only a small amount of shitty things. Then you go to like cartoons in general, like all cartoons. Yeah, they're super shitty. There's so much fucking problems in cartoons. Then you go to like live action shows, like it's just a sea of shit. And then you go to movies, and you're like, I don't even think you made anything. You just created literally nothing. Why did you do this? And then you go to video games, and they're the pinnacle. They're like a black hole.
Oh, you think movies are worse than things like...
Games are the worst medium. Games are nothing but a gigantic fucking archaic black hole of bullshit.
Where you're in terms of storytelling, or
in terms of storytelling, like, what's the point? It's like, it's all tropes, nothing but tropes, fucking trope. You're like, stop, please stop the tropes, stop it. And
we just need to think of Metal Gear Solid, basically.
Video games are
one of the best, and it's tropes left and right.
I mean, playing a AAA storyline can be fucking brutal in video games, where you're just like,
video games exist
like
in a loop.
You'll play one story for like 30 hours, and it's just. Like, I saw the tin and I knew what I was getting into. like from step one, I knew, because it was going to be so trope laden and so uncritical and uncreative that it was just going to be exactly what this was always going to be story-wise. And it's like, it's incredibly disappointing playing a AAA storyline usually. And it's like, I check out.
There's only 3 things you can do with a AAA video game: consume, enjoy, repeat. That's it. That's the only 3 things. If you do anything besides the 3, you've broken. The system breaks. It all crumbles down.
I see like the new like Batman 4-player game coming out, or I see like Watchdog Legions, and I'm like, they're going to do nothing with this, aren't they? Like, it's at best going to be it's going to be the same gameplay as the previous game, but the next gen flashy graphics and just a nothing story, like a nothing burger.
It's in London now, Keith. It's completely different. Everything changed.
Revolutionary.
Like, everyone talks in a dumb accent. They drink dumb liquids, and they have a dumb queen. It's completely different from like America, where they drink dumb liquids. They have a dumb king, and it's complete. Keith, completely.
But they
different.
have more guns in America.
No.
Oh, it's Tom Clancy, so of course they have guns everywhere.
Watch Dogs isn't about shooting.
Is it Tom Clancy?
Well, yeah, Tom Clancy, but Watch Dogs isn't Tom Clancy. Ubisoft publishes Tom Clancy stuff. Watch Dogs is just a
almost. Yeah.
What if a hacker was Assassin's Creed? And it was like,
if a Ubisoft game has guns, it's probably Tom Clancy, Watch Dogs, or Far Cry.
There's
like a little six bit Tom Clancy franchises, then Far Cry and Watch Dogs, and each one of those franchises kind of like finds its one niche, even if it's a few games in, and then they just aggressively stick to that niche. Like Watch Dogs 2 had like, because the first game was really boring. The second one's like, we have really animated, fun, chipper characters that say quippy dialogue all the time, and so now this third game is about like a kind of a dark revolution, but the identity of the franchise is that chippy dialogue, so they kept it. Yep. and who cares if they clash? And like ever since Far Cry 3, they've been like, okay, I get it. Every single Far Cry game is an open world game where there's bases that you can attack from any direction. You shoot things. There's there's some wildlife. There's some fire. And there's some like crafting materials you gather, but more than anything, on top of all the obviously there's a bunch of nodes on the map, and you're trying to complete the map like every open world game. But the most important detail, no matter what, is that you've got to have a super, super quirky villain, and he's gonna have a lot of chances to monologue at you, and he's gonna be like the primary selling point of the game, and he's gonna be on the cover. Like
they should just put that video about do you know what the definition of insanity is from Val or whatever his name was? Just over and over. It's all the storyline. That's all you need.
I wish that was the tagline of every video game.
Of every video game.
It's like Albert Einstein said, did you ever hear about the thing I said about insanity?
Yeah.
Like, fuck,
the next one's almost a parody of itself, because the next one they just straight up got the guy that played Gus Fring in Breaking Bad. and he's on the cover, and I'm like, all right, well, you found the most iconic TV villain actor practically of the last decade. He's going to be your big iconic villain in your iconic villain series. It's like
Far Cry 5 was such a fucking insult, where it was like
they just get so creatively boring so fast.
I live streamed myself playing Far Cry 5, and I had more fun doing non-story stuff. So I had more fun like breaking the game. Like we did a thing where we were hunting all of the kids, and because the point is you're so for those who don't know Far Cry 5 plot,
it's the plot of Wasteland 3.
Well,
sort of. Yeah, I guess you could argue that. It's just like basically there's Christian fundamentalists, and they're like, what if we just took over a state and nobody stops them? And
wait, that's the plot of Wasteland 3.
Yes, no, it is the plot of Wasteland 3. There's a big, significant, like, very prototypically American sort of like supervillain dude, and he's got a bunch of kids that are all controlling different regions of the map, and you have to like deal with each of them one by one before then coming back and potentially dealing with their dad.
Yeah, well, no,
Wasteland 3.
Yeah, and in both games, you can technically just resolve it right away.
Oh, by shooting the dad?
At least I assume you can just shoot the patriarch.
No, probably, but you cannot shoot.
In Far Cry 5, you can just refuse to. You can refuse to.
It's that secret ending.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. It's like Ubisoft, like their board of directors just like commands, like, aha, people like this thing once. It is now a mandatory staple of the series. So it's like, okay, now every single Far Cry game has to have a fake out ending or a secret ending where like there's some interaction you can do in the first scene that ends the entire story. And then you just get an ending, and then you're like, haha, I did it. Because like in the other one, like in Far Cry 4, they tell you to wait here in that room. And then if you wait there for like 10 minutes, he just takes you to the place you want to dump your mom's ashes, and the credits roll and nothing happens. And in 5, you can just not arrest the guy, because arresting him makes all the events of the story happen. And it's like, all right.
But so we were going around hunting the kids, and one of the kids, because they all have their fucking monologues, and one of the kids was going on this huge fucking monologue. Like there's a moment where like every 5 minutes you're just having a good time trying to suffer in peace in this world, and you hear this howl. And all of a sudden, like you're gonna get like a dart in your leg, and you're gonna pass out, and you're gonna go to this stupid fucking like oh, here's this weird, creepy house of horrors, and you have to run a little like that. You remember Call of Duty?
They always have to come up with a reason why that you're getting monologued at. So half the time you just magically get drugged no matter where you are, and then wake up in captivity or something.
And so after the third time it happened, I got so infuriated because I was playing like co-op with one of my friends. I was like, all right, you know what? Fuck this. We're going to just kill him right now. We're just going to fucking end this entire thing. So we beeline to where he is, did his entire story real quick, ran to him, blew him up. I dragged his body halfway across the entire map. Like I just threw it in the back of a truck and we drove to the other side of the map to where the next child was. I threw the corpse of the child in front of him, blew up the next guy, took both of those kids in the trunk, went to the daughter, blew her up, put her in the trunk, and then drove to the final guy. And I was like, fuck this game. Fuck the game. Here's your kids. Fuck off. Leave me alone. I just want to do things.
That sounds like more fun, yeah.
And then we blew up the truck and all the kids' bodies flew out and it was fucking hilarious. Like, oh my God, it was such a better game than they could ever come up with. And people are like, yeah, Far Cry 5 was fun. No, it wasn't. It wasn't fun. There's nothing good about these Far Cry games.
Far Cry 5 was exhausting.
Far Cry Primal was the last time they tried. After Primal, it was just a shitstorm. And I don't know who's in charge of it, but they're also a shitstorm. And whoever's leading them is a shitstorm. Like, stop making Far Cry games.
That's true.
Please.
Well, whoever's leading them is definitely a shitstorm.
They're not fun. They're
I'm a tremendous fan of the first Far Cry, the one made by Crytek. And then they went on to make...
The one that the fewest people played.
Yeah.
Yeah. That game is very influential. Ultimately speaking,
so just the aspect. I just think about there's the Far Cry series, then there's the smaller subsection of people that sing the praises of Far Cry 2, and then there's still a one before that.
No,
so
Far Cry 2 is terrible.
People talk about.
Yeah, the first one went head to head. I think it was in the same month or generally around the same time of Half-Life 2 and Doom 3. And for a while there in 2005, there was a big discussion over which one of the three was the best game. I personally think that it's Far Cry, and I think it's an amazing shooter. But so I followed the development of Far Cry 2 for a while, and then I figured it wasn't going to be for me, and I never bought it. I played the demo or something. I played for a little bit. And I think I might have it, actually. I don't know if I bought it or not. But I didn't play very much. But then I bought Far Cry 3 on release, which is probably the last AAA game that I bought. And honestly, I've been riding Far Cry 3 since then. Every time I think about getting or maybe trying an open world game that isn't related to me doing a Let's Play, I think of my time playing Far Cry 3 and I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to play it again for right now.
maybe I'm done with this franchise or genre.
No, maybe next year. But then next year I think back and I still remember Far Cry 3 and I'm like, oh no, I'm good. I'm good for now. It's like I had a nice big dinner and then it's taken a while.
But they're like, what if we made that same dinner every night?
Yeah,
that's what they do though.
Far Cry 3 was just the basically the final call. Where someone's like, all right, guys, this is it. Here's the corpse. We're doing the puppet show. This is the last one. And you're like, all right. And then everything after that is like,
it was the last time they did new things. And then all those new things were like, well, I guess these are the correct new things. Time to lock this in for good.
Yeah, now you just you're looking at somebody playing with the same corpse and you're like, well, some of the limbs are falling off, but I guess it's still fun. And you're like, what the fuck is this? Like Far Cry 5 is such a you play Far Cry 2 and Primal, and then you play Far Cry 5, and you're like, what happened? Wait, what the fuck happened? Who is this? The same game? Is this the same franchise? In many ways, it's almost
unchanged, and in some ways, the changes are any changes that you can find are usually for the worst.
Far Cry started as a very generic, big old buff man goes through and saves the day. And you can kind of go all right, fine, that exists in in Half-Life and Halo.
And there's mutants. And it's lovely.
There's all sorts of weird stuff that makes it not quite our world, but similar enough that you can get invested or whatever. But Far Cry 3 immediately goes but we can make it more real. And you're like, no, that's not the point of Far Cry. It's like, oh, but we can make it more real. Now it's a real country. It's like, no, stop. No, it doesn't have to be. Now it's in America. No, please stop. I just want the cartoon again.
That's
please
some
make
kind
it
of
where it's
weird
like
nightmare dystopia America.
Like Far Cry literally had a point where you could turn, like you were half of werewolf. Like that was part of Far Cry.
Was it the second one?
Yeah, Primal. Far Cry Primal was
Primal.
You had like a weird like drug in you that
That's
made you basically like
between 4 and 5.
Yeah.
No, between 3 and
between
4 and 5,
2 and 3. No,
it was between
4 and 5.
4 and 5. It
It's
used
like
the
an
map of 4.
Map before, yeah.
Or not Primal. I'm sorry, I'm not talking about Primal. I'm talking about what's the one after Far Cry 2?
Are you talking about the one after 1?
Is it the one after
that's
1?
Far Cry 2.
Instinct.
Far Cry 2,
Instinct is what it was. Far Cry Instinct.
Yeah, that's the one
That
after
was
1,
the
isn't it?
Far Cry Instinct, that was it. That was the last time they made a good Far Cry, was Far Cry Instinct. And then it just toppled downhill from there. It was like, oh, well, you guys fucked it.
Oh,
And
Far Cry Instinct is just a remake of Far Cry.
But...
So it's
is
just
it?
So it's just the first game remade.
Okay, so Far Cry 1 is the
like
only
a few
good Far
years
Cry.
later.
They never made a good Far Cry after that.
We're talking
Sorry.
about the same
This whole time you
Far
kept
Cry.
saying Primal, so we thought you were talking about the one between 4 and 5.
Oh my!
I thought
No, I'm sorry. I wasn't talking about that one either. I think this is
Blood Dragon. Are we talking about Blood Dragon?
Are you talking about Blood Dragon, the crazy neon nonsense one with the
there's also Paradise Lost apparently.
Robot dragons.
Hold on, let me look up the Far Cry.
Because Blood Dragon was my first Far Cry.
give you a link.
It was really disappointing from there to go to all the other ones.
Please tell me all of the Far Cry games, because apparently there's 2.
You have a link on Discord right now if you want.
Blood Dragon's a hell of a high point to then descend from to the rest of the franchise if you played that first.
There's Predator and Evolution, but that's
the choice they made in Far Cry 5 that made it especially just
Predator. So Predator's the one I was
that,
talking about.
It's just the fact that like every second you play Far Cry 5, you will get attacked. Like they don't understand the idea of like quiet time in an open world game somehow, even though they make the most open world games out of anyone. They somehow didn't realize the value of it. So in Far Cry 5, what makes it really exhausting is there are no high and low points. You're at the same base level of action every moment of the game, because if you aren't currently fighting, about 10 seconds from now, like a jeep full of people is just gonna fucking show up and attack you. Like
right?
you just get fucked. Like it just spawns enemies on you on the map every moment of the entire game for the entire playthrough, and it's fucking exhausting.
That's
it's so monotonous. There's no emotion, highs and lows at all.
The problem with open world games is precisely that it is like you as a creator don't have control of the pacing of the game. And what they decided to do is to have control, but max it out all the time.
Forcefully have control.
Oh my god! Because I think back to the first Far Cry. I think back to the first Far Cry. There's so many changes of pace. It's such a brilliantly the level design and the AI stand out. Absolutely stand out. Was the first Far Cry a linear shooter? It wasn't linear. It was like branching, but it was like missions, like Half-Life and that sort of stuff.
It was pretty linear.
Yeah, but like each mission had a relatively open world where you had like 3 or 4 paths that you could take at certain
like Perfect
points.
Dark kind of.
Yeah, you weren't on rails. Like you could walk around, but you were definitely being told like, "Hey, bud, this is where you're going."
Like how like how you're on a mission in like Deus Ex: Human Revolution.
Yes, exactly.
Like that.
Like I got choices. Better. I can do things, but like I'm here to do this one thing specifically, and then I'll be somewhere else. I have memories of just you had these binoculars that would tag the enemies, and it's just in the middle of the forest of the jungle, and like looking down like maybe a mile downwind, just like looking at tagging all the people, and then going to a tunnel, and there's like stealth sections. There's turrets that launch. It's like all sorts of. It's like the greatest hits of all shooters up until 2005 or 2004. Apparently, it was released. Like, because it's a really old game, but it looked so good at the time. Like it really pushed the graphics. That game couldn't be played for years after on maximum settings. It's like Far Cry 2. Or like Crysis.
Sorry, it's like Crysis, right? Yeah. But then again, it's
what a business model. We're gonna make games you can't play.
Yeah.
See you one day when you figure out how to run this 3 years from now.
Because they were making decisions about the way the engine was optimized that would like depend on the evolution of graphics cards, for example. Like Far Cry Crysis, for example, only runs on one thread, so multi-core. I'm not sure if it's just one thread or one CPU thread, but it's like multi-core computers weren't really a thing back then, so they were like, oh, probably future computers are not going to have too many cores. It's just going to keep going up in frequency. Guess what? They didn't. Mm-hmm. And for the graphics card, it's the same thing. Is like they invested heavily on texture mapping, I think it was, for Crysis and for Far Cry as well. And graphics cards just go hard on shaders. It's just shaders everywhere these days, and we're not particularly, but we're a lot more powerful than we were in terms of texture mapping, but just not that much more powerful. If you know what I mean. Yeah. Or like geometry is not really a thing that we worry about too much these days. So like if back then you had made a game that just went crazy on geometry, then these days it wouldn't be. Like, I can necessarily be a lot faster.
I can totally buy the idea of the first Far Cry being the best Far Cry just because it wasn't open world. And like,
it also just was like a risk. And risk games are always a lot more fun than like
a new franchise can be exciting because it's not just iterating. It's like I have ideas of some kind that justified making a new name and branding and all that shit.
Halo 5. What happened here? Why does it look like shit?
But also like open world is a bane on video games in many cases.
It's just a fucking disease that needs to go away.
Totally agree.
Because generally speaking, open world tends to just take an existing gameplay genre and dilute it. It's always like, oh, I'm in an action adventure game, or I'm a shooter, or I'm a stealth game, or I'm this and that. But I'm super diluted, so you're going to play the same maps over and over again, or revisit the same locations over and over again, or there's going to be a bunch of pointless empty space between each of the things that actually matters. And in the Far Cry case, there's also this issue of like in a Deus Ex game or other stealth games and so on, like there's a level where you're like, I start here. The task or tasks I need to do, and including optional ones, are scattered in all these different locations. There's a bunch of very carefully made choices about like where the vents go and which computers have what passwords and like all these other things that you can go on and where the guards are placed. And so there's a bunch of different ways and like that you can approach that one thing. And like that was fine. There could just be the one level for that mission, because if you liked the game enough, you could then go back and play it differently the next time, because the levels were so interesting in the ways that you could approach them that there was replay value. And the thing is it wasn't complete pure freedom, but it was many, many, many options that were kind of planned somewhat, and you could mix and match them a bit and so on. But in Far Cry, an encampment is just in a fucking open field. So you have so much freedom attacking a Far Cry sequel encampment that it's basically they're all a homogeneous sludge. They're all identical to each other.
You like use the word. Sorry, go ahead.
Like they're all functionally different from each other, but they all play the same forever. It's like, okay, there's an encampment, so there's going to be a tent there and like 3 buildings. One of the buildings has a second floor. There's a generator for the alarm somewhere. And like I can either like go in and stab everybody, or I can like stand on this shelf and shoot them all with a sniper rifle. And any solution you have for a particular encampment, you can then apply to every encampment for the rest of the game, because they're all functionally identical to each other. And you'll never really have to improvise or really suffer the consequences of planning poorly or so on in a way that you would in a more linear game that has like more articulately designed levels that have a clear start and end point. And like almost no games successfully take the open world and make it part of the game.
You use the word replayability, and like it's such an important concept, because what happens with a linear game, or not necessarily linear, but like a non-open world game, is that you play it once and then you go back to play it because you enjoyed playing it, and the replayability is the game stands up to being replayed based on just how much fun, or how fun it is for you knowing the game already to play it again, right? But open world games, they take the replayability into the first playthrough. what you're saying about them being always the same camps, that you're taking all the same missions over and over again, that is a necessity of the way at least Ubisoft designs
and they don't just
their
make
open
it
world
part,
games.
they don't make it just part of the playthrough as an option either. It's
you need to replay the game over and over again to finish it once.
They make the experience they make it the experience of beating the game once, the act of doing the same thing over and over and over again, well beyond what would normally be comfortable for a playthrough reasonably having.
And that's the other thing, because they know so many people don't finish games. They don't even care if you don't finish their game. They all they care about is engagement, and if you pay for their microtransactions. And if you don't finish the game, it doesn't matter. You got tired, sure, whatever. It's like you finished maybe their old game twice instead of 5 million times, like kids used to do back in the days.
Like I watched the other people in this house play video games, and like they never finish anything. They just like a curiosity comes up, a particular AAA thing that catches their interest shows up, like a Monster Hunter World or Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. I mean, sorry, the remake, not Advent Children. And like I spot some of the games they end up playing, even Outer Worlds and some other things, and it's like, and like they just kind of play for a few hours, and there's a few sessions here and there, and then one day it just never shows up again, and they're back to playing their lifestyle game, be it like League of Legends or Overwatch or now Genshin Impact for some people and so on, and they just kind of like keep grinding that wheel forever. So yeah, a lot of people just don't play games, and unfortunately that leads to a situation where the most popular games are constantly like not being punished for having horrible pacing because people won't bother sitting through it anyway. Like
they they design the games with that knowledge. They know.
Yeah.
Like they design the games with knowing that there's a certain kind of person that today finishes games, and that's not the same person that used to finish games.
It's like how in Ghost of Tsushima, like there's all these people proclaiming it the game of the year or the game of the generation and making such a big deal about it. But there was also so many comments talking about how they just like, oh yeah, like I quit somewhere around like the beginning of the second region. Like they just stopped playing because they just didn't really feel like it anymore, and they just kind of petered out.
I haven't played a game of the generation in like generations. What the hell is a game of the generation? Like,
it's a console term. It's a thing that is
I don't think there's been a game that I could definitively go like, wow, you did it. You actually iterated on this and taken games to a new level.
Oh, that has. Dark Souls.
From a AAA studio in years.
Oh, in a
like,
AAA. Well, it depends on what you consider
AAA
though.
I mean,
like, do you consider Dark Souls to be AAA?
No.
Okay,
that wasn't made by a AAA studio.
But some people do consider it to be AAA.
From Software isn't AAA.
I know. I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I can also respect somebody that tells me, no, they're AAA, because then they show things like
it also depends on what your line is, because you're probably... Because in many cases, people treat it as like a AAA indie dichotomy, and that's the only categories. Whereas, like now that I think about it, like I would say that From Software was like a AA company.
Yeah,
they're on the same tier as half the people that are making the Souls likes.
Yeah, exactly. I would definitely not say they're AAA. I can confirm they're not AAA because they can't even release fucking games half the time that aren't just buggy messes. So like, they're not AAA.
They ship their games with "you defeated" death screens. So that
hire a damn translator. Yeah, I don't think that's AAA. I think that's like, they did it. Congratulations, A.
Man,
like, that has been patched.
The first like 6 versions of Dark Souls 1 were fascinating.
And so telling me that's a AAA is like, I don't
720p 30 frames per second PC game that says you defeated when you defeat a boss.
Fucking insulting.
No, you defeated is when you die, I think, isn't it?
No, it said you died.
Oh, it's when you defeated.
That was fine. No, the victory screen was you defeated. It was hilarious.
That's the one, yeah.
I think if I go back, because we're going to sad games history now. Dark Souls.
I never played that
1.
version of the game.
Me neither, because I used mods.
Yeah.
I played.
We're talking about fucking ancient fucking history right now. If I can find it in here.
First time.
Our SEO is so bad that it's hard to find. There we go. 9 years ago.
Jesus.
9 years ago. There's a video called "Pointlessly Offensive." I'm going to turn the audio off because I'm a little worried about what that means. Like we can hopefully we defeat
pointlessly offensive. What is this?
Oh,
A 999 Let's Play.
Here comes the successful run against the Asylum Demon. Chop, chop, and he's fallen over. Big Pilgrim. You defeated! Yep, at 9:22 on Dark Souls Part 2. But you have to find the one from 2011. That's 9 years ago. But yeah, it just says you defeated. That was the fucking text. But this is ancient fucking Sad Games history because that was our first playthrough. Like we had some videos before that were like, we had some like let's tries basically of Xbox Live indie games, but the first actual series we tried to start was you defeated. It was Dark Souls.
We did not defeat it.
No, we did not beat it. And also all the comments are not kind.
It's still back in the time where videos didn't have to have 10 minutes, but you still made it.
Yeah, we had a video. We had a duration cap, so all of our videos were like 10 minutes long.
But this one is not. This one is like 10 minutes 24.
No, the cap was 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think so as well.
The part 2 is 10 minutes and 24 seconds, but you might be finding one of the other playthroughs of Dark Souls 1 because there's like 3 or 4 on that channel technically. It took a long time for one of them to succeed.
I'm seeing the video that you're referring to.
But yeah, there's
that's 2011. We're old. We're all turning into dust. We're gonna die.
Yep. But my statement stands is that video games are something you consume, you enjoy, and you replay. But you don't critically think. You're not supposed to stop. You're not supposed to question. If you do that, then you're either I don't know, whatever the laundry list of things that you see on being used as talking points to invalidate someone talking. Because you're not supposed to do any. You're only supposed to play, enjoy, consume.
There's the loop. Get excited at E3, pre-order the special edition, consume,
pre-order,
but move on immediately to consume the next thing. Like that's the loop. Get excited get excited about having collector's items for a game you haven't even played yet and don't know if you'll like, but you probably will like because you're already in this feedback loop of just accepting this as the baseline.
You have to like you spent $130 on the collector's edition.
Yeah, and this feedback loop of these games are so consistent and unchallenging to you and your idea of what this can be as art and so on that. Since they serve you such an identical experience all the time, you probably will like it because you're already liking it. So it'll just be like a loop and you just keep going. And that's just the baseline forever. And then if anyone tries anything creative or scary or new, you're probably just going to get mad because that's the default reaction to being surprised by something or not getting exactly what you wanted spoon-fed to you on a loop over and over again is you just get kind of indignant about it.
Call of Duty Cold War has a non-binary choice. Fuck, man, I can't play Call of Duty ever again because now I can.
They have politics in my Call of Duty.
Now there's 3 choices for gender instead of 2, and I'm gonna only choose male anyways because I always choose male. But
they had female already. Politics.
Yeah, male and female always existed, but
back in the day
in the Black Ops series, not Call of Duty.
I don't think that's even true either. That took a while.
No, the storyline
because they didn't give you an option.
It wasn't any of the ones that I played.
Yeah,
I stopped at the second Modern Warfare. I think I saw once. I think it was Modern Warfare 3, and it was offensively bad. As in, like, not even storytelling or narrative. It just was such a bad game. I saw somebody play that. And I was, oh my god, why? And later I found out that there's a second studio that does like the bad ones, apparently.
But yeah, that kind of stuff is like does it affect your gameplay? Does it affect your ability to play the game? And does that ruin the game entirely?
Call of Duty Ghosts multiplayer gender options are about appreciating female fans. So Ghost was probably the one.
Okay. And again, what did it do?
So many games I'd lost track entirely.
It just let someone go, yeah, but that's it. Like, nothing fundamentally changes about Call of Duty. You still are committing war crimes in the name of a nationalistic pride. Like, nothing subversive has happened. You're not being taken on a feminist fear-mongering wild ride. As you can,
no amount of inclusion will ever make Call of Duty progressive.
Exactly. Like, what the fuck? Like,
exactly.
The entire narrative is based around so many distressing assumptions about how the world has to be in order for those narratives to happen, and it's like an endless loop loop of just distressing stories.
Yeah, like I saw a joke on Twitter where it was like someone said Soldier 1, and it's like he is gassing, and then Soldier 2, Soldier 1, sorry, they were gassing all of the children to death. Like, yeah, great Call of Duty. You change the gender, you change gender choices, but the actual substance is still not great. Like
people complaining, and then Call of Duty adding new genders, but then changing nothing else about what it is as a series. It completely rings of like 15 million merits. The episode of Black Mirror where the character sees issues and goes to the top and tries to actually change something, but then just gets completely co-opted by that system, and nothing functionally changes because he only becomes incorporated into the very power structure that he was discussing in the first place.
Symbolism. Like, the thing is, symbolism is so easy to give to signify, basically, because as long as it doesn't change anything to the narrative. Because can you imagine Call of Duty without guns? No, you can't. It needs to have guns. It needs to glorify war. Also, because the U.S. Army wouldn't pay them to make the game as they do if they didn't glorify war. So they need They need to go for the low hanging fruits. Get the women, get the non-binary people.
Breast cancer awareness ribbon on the cover.
Yeah,
like aha.
I mean, and again, that's the thing that's what bothers me is that there's not, you can't critically think. And I'm not saying that you have to make every fucking video game follow some rigorous standard of ethics, but you also don't have to just consume blindly. It's not black and white in this case. You can just go down the gray zone and go like, yeah, it is good to make video games where you play as a war criminal so you can see the fucking bad things you're doing. But at the same time, maybe we shouldn't have a game where you're like going through history and whitewashing it. Like those, you have those types of things where you're like, okay, well, we can definitely
echoing real life atrocities, then switching the nameplates on who did it to make America look better.
Yeah, it's
it was that wasn't America, that was the Russians or something. Yeah,
I cannot believe they would do that. And it's like, yeah, me neither, because it didn't happen. It's like, what?
But at the same time, let's not forget the backlash that Battlefield 5 had because they'd had a woman on the cover.
Yeah, because it wasn't real, because women didn't exist until
we invented them in the 60s.
Yeah.
No, wait.
Yeah,
was that 70s?
Reagan invented them. They would trickle down gender.
They were
Yeah, remember when we invented our second gender? That was called the.
What second gender? Yeah. The only gender. How many times have I seen people? There's only one gender, and it's still always women. Because of course you're the default gender if you're a man.
There's no such thing as a second gender, Keith. That's why men is in women, because there is no second gender. They're lying to themselves. They're just men who don't want to be men. That's it. There's no such thing as there's no such thing as non-men. There can't be non-men. Everything is man, all the way down.
All the way down.
There are human, there are men, there
turtles.
Are women.
To be fair, English does have a really worrisome way of phrasing the whole thing.
There are trans men and trans women. They're all men. You can't avoid it. We're all men forever. There is no other gender.
You really should start talking Latin or something, because there's so many words for all these things that don't involve the word men.
I would, except you know what happened? They didn't follow the rigorous man standard and went extinct. That's why Latin's a dead language. Exactly.
That's not why Latin is a dead language.
Oh, it's definitely why it's a dead language. If they followed the man code where everything is man, they wouldn't have died off. Well, do you see English dying off? Actually, it's the dominant language because we follow the man code. There's only man.
English is a fairly new language, all things considered.
Well, yeah, because someone had to rise out of the ashes to stop all these dying languages from dying.
No, in the sense of because Middle English is not English.
Well, no, Middle English is the same as
even Shakespeare English is kind of like.
Shakespeare didn't speak English half the time he was writing. He just made up words and was like, "Say it out loud for me in public," and people are like, "I guess you're paying me to do that."
You're a very good writer. Very good writer.
Shakespeare.
Everybody goes.
Shakespeare is a lunatic.
I do like having a language that doesn't have to deal with.
That's it.
Yeah. I do like having a language. I do like having one of the languages that doesn't gender everything, because that
I can.
As somebody who
agree
didn't
with
grow
that.
up with it, I'm confused by the very concept.
As somebody who's
I had
tried to learn,
I had to memorize some of it in German, and I'm like, I don't understand why every single item ever that we ever name has to have one of the genders on it, and why they're not all just the one that's the neutral gender, which also is a thing in the language, but that's not what all the inanimate things are.
But not in Latin or Romance languages, or most Romance languages. Anyway. In a way, it's sort of like it's elucidating, and in another way, it's very limiting. Because obviously, if you're talking to somebody, you immediately need to gender them, because you're talking to them. Like hello, are you well? When you say well, that well changes depending if it's feminine or masculine. So you're gendering them immediately.
That's exhausting.
This is why the man language works. Everything's a man. You don't have to gender anything. You don't have to worry.
But in another way, it's sort of because it detaches, like it readily detaches gender from sex. The language itself does it, so it's easier to understand that, to not get those two mixed up. Because when you say that the word "well" has a gender or the table has a gender, then you're obviously not talking about sex. You're talking about gender, which are two different things.
That is infuriating.
But like,
I would be terribly upset if someone was like, actually, you said the female version of table. I'm like, it's feminine. A fucking table. It's a
the
fucking
feminine
table
version, not female. That's sex.
The table isn't a gender or a sex. It's a fucking table.
No, it is a gender. It is feminine or masculine.
Table. It's a table. It has no gender. It has no sex.
But that's the thing.
It has no biology. It's a piece of wood
gender
in the
is
shape
not biology.
of a fucking table.
Gender is not biology, Andrew. That's the thing. That's why I was saying it. In a way, it's easier.
Okay, but the table is still not a man or a woman. It is not female or masculine. It's not
gender
a man or a
is
woman.
not biology, but gender is gender applies to biological things.
Not well. Sex applies to biological things.
I'm saying like applying gender to completely non-biological things is exhausting.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
I like lamps.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's a table. It's not a thing.
I'm saying
is not
that
a
gender
living
applies
organism.
to things that at least contain biology.
But I think English does in non-gendering languages. It's a lot easier for an English speaker. What I'm saying is a lot easier for an English speaker to mix up gender and sex than it is for a Spanish speaker, for example, because you're just used to treating those two things in very different ways. I mean, not very different ways, not unrelated, obviously, but unrelated enough. You know what I mean? It's like,
not necessarily, because I'd have to know the language.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to understand.
I've tried. I've been learning Japanese, and it's not pleasant. That I have to be careful about what I'm saying because one word is more feminine, and it's like I don't fucking care. It's like it's an onigiri.
English
I don't give a shit if I say it in a way that sounds more feminine or masculine.
English has that as well, though.
Does it? When I say table, for example, people don't go like, do you mean like a girl
for example,
table?
If you say cute, the word cute is a good example because it can apply to all things in general, but also it has a specific connotation. And it's not used normally for both men and women.
That's just sexist. That's just people being sexist.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the language. That's how language works.
The language itself doesn't have a pre-existing disposition. Like cute isn't only for women to say, and that's not how the word existed.
You're saying Japanese is actually in the language.
Yeah, there are words that only women say, and if you say them, you sound like a woman. And like that, I hate that. That's infuriating. Why the fuck did you do that? Why would you make such a division in your language?
It's like the way Portuguese say thank you. We say it gendered because we say we are thankful, and thankful is gendered. So we say obrigado for men. And obrigado
language is so fucking important because it frames the entire. It ends up framing your entire model of how you can think. It's like in a very strange, so it leads to really strange miscommunications and like cultural gaps where like just if you grow up with a particular language, your entire framework for processing ideas and communicating them can be completely changed by what language you speak because it's a mistake to think of them as all being like one-to-one replacements of each other. Yeah, and that's a good example of it. Is this idea of like different languages straight up process gender differently on a fundamental level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And other ones, like you have to like invent a new idea and try to teach a new idea to an entire country when you're trying to discuss a gender idea because the language doesn't allow for it.
I mean, the nicest thing that's ever happened in this world is the invention of technology. Because technology existed before.
The invention of technology. That's not how it works. That's not how technology.
Okay, so sorry. Computing is the best thing that's ever happened to language. Because computers happened so far after language existed. There isn't a way to gender computers. So every computer term is neutral because you can't be like, well, there's a feminine way to say email. No, there's not. It's just fucking email, idiot.
Email is masculine, by the way.
No, it's not.
In Portuguese, it is.
Why would you do that? Like, so many other languages just don't bother gendering. They just say like it's a neutral. It's like
the thing is, English doesn't use pronouns as much as any Romance language does. So, like for example, if I say the email is masculine, I'm talking about yeah, they're called pronouns. The and
it sounds like a pun.
I mean,
well, I guess it is.
That's just your brain, Keith.
I know.
So if I say the email is masculine, I'm saying a different thing than if I say email is masculine.
Well, isn't that? But that's
you know what I mean?
But the word, but email itself isn't.
But
masculine or feminine.
So the way Romance languages work is that you always say the pronoun. And you need to specify if you want to talk about general things or just a specific email. So
sure.
So because you always say the pronoun, then how do you say the word the in Portuguese, for example? Well, those are gendered. So there you go. That's half the problem right there.
Yeah,
because you always say the pronoun, you always say the gender.
That's what I mean, though. But like the word itself, if I showed up to any country and I said email, I don't have to worry about using the feminine version of the word. Because email is email. There is no, like, when I say JavaScript, you can't go like, did you mean
that's
the other
that's
type
feminine.
of JavaScript? Like, JavaScript isn't feminine.
I'm just giving it as an example. But actually, you say that.
But it's not.
I'm talking in Portuguese, obviously. You say that, but one of the tropes here in Portugal for English speakers to come and learn the language is that they always get the genders mixed up. And they say, email instead of email. Is for feminine and is for masculine. So they misgender email literally, and it's funny. And that's how you make jokes out of English speakers, is that you make them say the wrong pronoun and everybody laughs a lot. And
the way that I found to get around
good luck localizing that one.
Yeah, exactly.
And the way you get around that is you never use pronouns.
But it's very complicated.
You say then email, computer, send. And they go, fuck, he did it. It's completely neutral. He said no gendered words here. He did it. He broke the code.
I think there's another level, though.
And the language.
I think there's another level, though.
I guess code's also a language.
Yeah, that's true. But the thing is,
code is a language.
Because everything is gendered, not just the pronouns, the adjectives, everything. There's also a certain centering of the gender that serves to shape, and that's what Keith was saying. It serves to shape just the way we think about each other, because we just need to have you can't be gender neutral in Portuguese. Literally cannot, from a traditional grammar standpoint.
I was gonna say that sounds like quitter talk. You can be anything you want to be.
You can be anything, yeah, but from a traditional standpoint, you can't. And so, and people are not gender neutral. There are some exceptions because there are gender neutral words. Person isn't gender neutral. Actually, it's a funny thing. The word person is gender neutral, but it is a feminine person, or it's a feminine word. So when you say pessoa, that's the
what does
feminine.
That mean? What do you mean?
Yeah, that's
feminine?
Why it's a little bit confusing.
What is that?
It works
what
as
does that mean in context?
It works as a feminine word in the sense that you treat it as rather than u.
It's conjugated as a feminine word, but it's not the same thing as what you're saying about Japanese, where it means
exactly,
where it doesn't actually imply gender.
Exactly. So I'm a person, and when I say I'm a person, I say with a feminine way. And if I'm talking about me being a person this or that way, I always treat myself in the feminine gender. But my pronouns are masculine, so it can be confusing. But there's also a level of detachment there that I think is. I mean, what I'm saying is I totally understand that it's hard to comprehend because, I understand.
No, it's a lot. I studied German for a few years, and I never gained any understanding of why it was happening. I just knew that I had to memorize the gender of every single noun for the entire language because that changes the conjugation of how it's used in sentences, and it seemed completely arbitrary. And also, and even though it's called gendering, there's no implication of actual gender in the process. It's just the fact that every word fits into like one of like 3 or 4 categories, and that changes
German
the words
has more
around
categories.
it and so on.
So what is the difference between a
There's like masculine,
table
female, and neuter, and so
a
on.
feminine table?
There isn't. Just tables are one gender.
Table is feminine. Yeah. In
So
Portuguese,
why would it matter which way you say it?
if you say it,
It's just
if
the
you're saying
correct
it
way.
masculine, you're saying it wrong if you do it the other way.
It's totally just a case of, as far as I can tell, it's a case of just like, that's just how it's done, and it's always been done, so you sound weird if you say it wrong.
But would
There
you
are some exceptions.
would you not understand?
No, you don't understand. You just note that person doesn't know how to speak Portuguese very well.
So that's just a worthless thing that you do
Oh yeah.
for no reason.
Yeah,
Is
absolutely.
okay. Because like if you could still understand
it's
what
like
I'm
how
saying, but think like, well, he just said it kind of
There
weird.
are some exceptions.
Well, it's
There
like
are
how
some
you,
very,
it's like how
very
you can usually understand somebody who's speaking like broken English. Like if they're like skipping all the in between words and just saying verbs and nouns, basically, it's like, oh, I get what they're
Basically.
saying, but they definitely don't get like how to say it all.
But don't you have gendered thes?
Yes.
Yes.
So you could just keep saying, you could say the.
No,
and
no,
it's
you
still-
said gendered does, so not
There's no-
genderless.
They're all gendered.
There's
So
Spanish
there's the
does have
and there's the, but there's a different way to say the.
Yes, the
Yeah.
actual the is, in fact, that's what conjugation is, Andrew.
yeah.
Like the sentence around the word changes based around the gender of the word. So like the noun's gender changes which the you say in all of these
I thought-
languages.
Language exists to communicate.
there is no
to,
default-
to
there is no- there's no
efficiently work
default the.
together with people. Why would you do this? Is this like spite?
Yeah.
Do you not want to work with your fellow man? Why would you
like
create
in-
a language that's complicated?
It's like in German when you see D, which is spelled die, like DIE, or der or das, those are all the.
Yeah.
What?
Those are
English
different
doesn't have a
genders of
plural.
the.
English doesn't even have a plural of the.
Because
for example,
most people remember like das something. They think that's how you
Das
speak
is
German.
plural,
You
right?
say das noun, but there's also die and der, which are female
what
and,
happens-
female and male.
So then
Yeah.
what's the difference between the two?
imagine, think of
It's,
the
as
plural
far as I can
version.
tell, it's arbitrary and based on a long
can't
history
think of, like
of the
I'm trying to
language.
think of. I'm trying to think of the comparison of somebody not speaking full English, like someone speaking broken English, and like, so
it's
what
easy.
would it sound like if I say the table incorrectly? Because all I can imagine is someone's.
I mean, a
What
good
if I
example
say-
of broken English would be saying, just not saying the at all.
For example, or saying it in the wrong place.
Or potentially, like saying the verb
that
and the
happens
noun
a lot.
out of order in a way where you're like, hang on a minute, and you do a little mental arithmetic, and they're like, okay, I get it. Like
Yeah,
that, like because like a lot of like when you encounter people speaking broken English, they're often like skipping half the words because they don't really know how they all fit together, but they know enough words to get the blueprint of the idea, and it's usually enough.
This is really hard to comprehend.
I think an easier place to start would be the plural version of the. Imagine English had a plural version of the. Thus.
Okay.
So you would say the car and thus car. Sorry,
Okay,
not
so
the
what's-
car. The
so-
cars. Sorry, I'm talking plural. The car
Yeah,
and
because we
cars.
just pluralized the noun and not the.
Exactly. Now imagine that relationship. That's
Unless
how the
that noun
relationship
doesn't
works.
have a plural, in which case, woohoo.
Well, then, yeah. Well, that's
Yeah,
an interesting way.
that
You
seems-
can, if a noun doesn't have a plural, changing the pronoun can change the
We just have
noun
to
itself.
add more words,
Yeah.
Yeah, you just
like a pie or a bunch of pie. Wait, no, pie is
Yeah,
just
you
plural.
just-
Never mind. I was trying
yeah.
to brainstorm a word that has where the plural doesn't change the spelling of the word.
No,
but I
because
couldn't
English
think of it
has
fast
another
enough.
problem. English has the much and many.
Sheep.
And
That's
that-
what I was thinking of. Like a sheep
m-
or like
much-
a flock of sheep or whatever, because you can't say sheeps.
The English makes a distinction between much and many, and that is a terrible problem for Romance languages, I would say, from my experience.
Much
Because
and many.
Keith, that's because you're
Yeah.
using the wrong. You're
Because those
saying
are two
sheep.
different concepts. They're not different words for the
fact
same
that-
concept.
The fact that in each sentence it's correct to either say much or many.
Yeah.
And you and English speakers basically can't even like explain it to you in a meaningful way because we just instinctively have picked up the pattern over the course of our lives and we don't really know why. No, like what really fucked with me is that there's a description you can like Google it or something, but I don't know how you do it exactly, but like it was this realization of the fact that like when somebody describes something, the order of the adjectives is always the same on an intuitive level, and no one knows why because you're never
like
taught
the big red car, not the red big car.
Like when it comes to like size, quantity, color, and so on. Like there's like a list of like 7 describers that are all different categories, and whichever ones you happen to use always land in the same order. And we've all picked this up intuitively without knowing that there was rules to begin with. Because
that's an easy way to tell somebody.
You are not taught that in school, but it's weird to say red big car.
Yeah.
The red big couple of cars. It's weird to say that. It's like it's a couple big red cars. Like there's a specific every description you have that's an adjective or a modifier, there's a specific order in which to apply them, and you don't, and it's hard to say for sure what it is off the top of your head.
No, I think
but we all know them somehow. It's like a virus, like how cats
those are written down somewhere. That's with their poo.
No.
It is. Such
the order. It's the order of adjectives, and it's
I love the
number one. Number one is determiner, opinion, size, shape, age, color, origin, material, purpose.
Oh yeah, opinion.
Good luck remembering that.
Yeah, right.
I don't need to because my body already knows.
Yeah,
so I just live
right at the
my life.
beginning, you give an appraisal. That's funny. Yeah, it's true. You always say like good or bad or something first.
I don't even know. I would have to go back and listen to myself.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
But I don't know if I've ever used that incorrectly. I imagine I've probably done it because I'm an idiot. So I've probably
it weirdly explains why a sentence would sound like stilted and like thought out over the course of it being said if they were weirdly saying them out of order. Like that would be a signifier that you're picking up on automatically without necessarily knowing that that's why it sounds like they're like working their way through the sentence live.
Here's a fun example. The 3 beautiful little old heart-shaped gold Italian sports cars. That's the order right there. And it didn't sound weird.
Apart from take out a single brick, the tower falls.
The 3 little beautiful old gold heart-shaped Italian car sports. That doesn't work.
Car sports. Oh, you can't say car sports.
Yeah, I think car sports is where it fell apart. Otherwise, it sounded normal to me.
You definitely can't say car sports.
It did.
That's
did
just
it sound
what
normal?
The word is.
Yeah, I don't see.
I spotted some weird things. I'm just taking it off of the.
I do have a lot of experience communicating with people that English isn't their first language, so I think there's a lot of like over time I've just kind of stopped paying attention to those noticeable things. Like if someone came up to me and told me like, "Oh yeah, here's a purple flat square," I wouldn't.
You said
be
it
like,
properly.
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
You say flat purple square.
Yeah,
you said color proper adjective. Oh, really?
Said purple flat square when it's flat purple square.
Oh, because that does change the meaning a little bit, doesn't it? Saying it the other way, it because it's like, doesn't it? You emphasize a certain different thing.
I think there's I don't know. My mind can just imagine it no matter what way. No matter what way you put it, my mind starts imagining it as you're saying the descriptors. So like I don't care what order.
It feels a little different, but it doesn't actually change any element of what the thing ultimately is.
I see.
Yeah. So that's I think because I don't.
You're not going to be like that. I'm interpreting that the flatness is purple somehow. Like it's still like they're still modifying the same noun no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't get like more or less flat or necessarily like the order in the sentence doesn't like change the flatness. It's pretty all or nothing.
I don't think but the thing is I don't think this is like a hard rule. It's just sort of like an observation.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is a rule. We're never taught it. It's just everyone.
Yeah, everyone knows
it.
This.
Yeah.
Like when I saw that, I was like, "Oh my god, this is real." I'm looking at this. I'm like, "This explains everything." It's like learning a new trope. You're like, I just have language for the thing that is the reality around me, and with that, I can. When you have a word for something, then you better process it. Like you just need like that's like the point of pointing out tropes and so on. It's just like when you have a label for something, you can categorize it, and you have a thing you can refer back to whenever you're trying to think about the thing, and like that, it makes it gives you like anchor points for your brain to work with, and without them you're in trouble. Which goes back to the idea of like language as a whole, and like what is the framework your entire language works within. And there was I don't know if you guys saw this, but I saw like I had a weird interaction and string of interactions really where I would discuss gender in previous videos, and I had the strange thing where people just kind of like acted like they didn't know what the word they was. It's very
what do you mean they didn't know what the word they was? Could you,
like their brain like they like their brain stalled, and like they just like lost the like they, and they didn't understand somehow, and like they were claiming they was a regional dialect, and I'm like, what? No, there's no part of the United States that doesn't have they to describe gender neutrality.
That's probably another video that they watched from that other guy.
That's the thing. That's the thing is that over the last 5 years, there's been a backlash towards non-binary and trans individuals, and like they in the occurrence of the word they to describe non-gendered or unspecified genders and so on. And people got so incensed about that and so stuck with that idea, they kind of collectively convinced themselves that they didn't know how to use the word they. But we've all been using the word they, because in any context, like you just hear like, oh yeah, my friend blah blah blah, and it's like a gender neutral sounding name, and that could go either way, like Bobby or some shit. You're like, who are they? And like you don't think about it, but like that's how you speak about anything, or like there's some in that case would be there was somebody outside. Oh yeah, who were they? Like it's like that's how you describe any time you haven't been introduced to a gender. You by default
can you
use
describe
they.
them? Them is also gender neutral.
I've had multiple interactions with people that weirdly convinced themselves they didn't know that, and I'm like, I don't know how we got
doing
here.
it on purpose.
It's so fucking weird.
That sounds like somebody doing a lie.
Yeah. It was I'm like, I don't do what the fuck is this?
I have specifically since like forever in my emails I always use they to describe people. If like even if I know who they are, I just say they. Like they will get their hardware or they will get whatever. Like I never like it doesn't matter what they're
actually in a maybe I don't know if it works the same in English, but in a company setting, there's a lot of the usage that they might be a plural, and it might just be implied, and you learned it, or it might not. You might be doing it on purpose. But like I know, for example, in Portuguese, we always use the plural, like we and you, as in the plural you. So maybe that's where that is from.
It's definitely been very funny watching like the facts don't care about your feelings types of people just collectively pretend that we invented this word in the last 10 years and it hasn't been around for like hundreds and been used in this way for an eternity. Keith, and we all grew up with it.
Their feelings don't care about your facts, okay?
Oh, their feelings super don't care about my facts.
But my facts don't care about their feelings.
Facts don't care about your feelings, but I only say that when I feel like I'm already right about something, and that's a feeling, and I'm not going to check any of my facts because it's really important that I don't have to challenge myself ever, but you just got owned.
Destroyed, not owned, it's destroyed.
That's an entire
challenge myself,
that's an entire video
but I'm very
format.
confident that I beat you in a challenge. It's like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know about that, buddy.
Womp, womp,
There's,
womp.
I don't know. Language is weird, and it should always be as efficient and easy as possible to communicate with the most amount of people possible. That is the only purpose of language. I hear a lot of arguments.
It's not the only purpose of language.
I hear a lot of arguments for culture, and culture is a bad excuse. Language only exists to communicate thoughts and ideas with other people of your same species.
And poetry.
I don't give a shit about your crappy songs and poetry. You can language can. That's a different type of thing. Language, the communication between two people, should be as easy and understandable as possible. You can make up a song in whatever language you want. I don't give a shit. The Lord of the Rings has its own stupid language for the elves. I don't care. You can do that.
But it loses so much meaning, though.
But
it loses so much meaning.
Art is communication.
art. You can, and
you
can
mentioned
do that.
you mentioned that it's actually an argument against what you're saying. Like Tolkien wrote not Lord of the Rings specifically, but the more so the Silmarillion, but wrote like the whole setting with mostly the purpose of giving significance to the language he made up. Because language by itself doesn't have much significance. It's just you can know how to speak Klingon, but without the history attached to the words that you use and the people and all that language doesn't have as much meaning and is not as strong. And that's why poetry can be very powerful or be very weak and bad if you don't take advantage of that meaning, of that sort of like shared history and just sort of like implied significance to the words and all this sort of stuff. Because, you know, there's words that they're not good for poetry. And why is that? It's not written anywhere. It's just what people agree with, you know.
Poetry is not how I progress the world. Poetry
I disagree.
Poetry
the pen is mightier than the sword.
I mean, sure, but poetry
actually that's in a different
you.
Context.
Yeah, like poetry isn't going to save you from anything. It's art is a different a completely different thing. Art is tied in with culture, where it's like this is a part of identity, and it makes you feel like a part of a group or whatever the hell you think culture is. And language to me is supposed to be a tool, just like any other tool. It's supposed to be an efficient way to get things done, which is collaboration. And so if you have a language that is complicated, I don't care if it makes poetry sound good. It's worthless because it needs to be good at communicating to other people of your same race.
What I'm saying is that in our speech patterns, there's poetry. Like what I'm saying right now here is me exercising a little bit in you as well. I'm not saying it's just for me. We are saying, especially now us that are recording a podcast and people are going to listen to it and so that they can then leave a dislike because we dissed on Genshin Impact again. But like, especially us, but everybody talks with a consciousness about the poetry of their. It's not we don't say that word, but it's about that as well. If we were like, you need to be a sociopath, and I'm not trying to diss on sociopaths here or anything, but you need to be detached from your sociological implications of your actions to just say things in an efficient way. You know what I mean? Because the way you say things is as important and sometimes even more important than what you're actually saying. And that works for English. It works for any language, especially with very familiar relationships. Sometimes you don't need to say anything; you just grunt, and you're understanding each other. That's part of language as well. You know what I mean? So you can see language as just the rules and just sort of like what we write down is just like, this is how English is spoken. English is a lot more than that, and any language is a lot more than that. And that's why that shared culture. And you're using the word correctly, but that shared culture and identity is very important to language, because you know it's the way we say the sentence, our pacing, what we stress, the words that we stress, the words that we choose to say. Like I know I sometimes come across as a little bit of a jerk because I just say weird words and fancy words even in my normal Portuguese speech, but that's just how I speak. And somebody who is not accustomed to me, they'll just think, well, who's this buffoon? You know what I mean?
Get him out of here.
So it's not just about, I know what you're saying, but you also need to be aware of all the rest. Even if you had the most efficient language in the world, you'd still have all of the other aspects of language. It's not really just about what you say, it's how you say it.
This whole topic has me thinking about how everyone period, just needs to read Axiom's End, the Lindsay Ellis book. It's entirely because that's the core of the entire story is these language issues and the back and forth. And in particular, there's like you have these like cybernetic creature people that like can't communicate back and forth with the humans, but they themselves have multiple forms of communication because they have their vocal communication where they actually make sounds at each other rather rapidly and can interpret that, but then they also communicate with each other digitally, and that's their hyper efficient like instantaneous communication method because they're cybernetic and they can just talk directly via the internet basically. But then they talk about a third language that they hint at that they call it high language, and they can't explain what it means or what it is. And at a later point in the story, in particular, there's this the main character plays guitar, and there's a few times throughout the thing when she plays the guitar and she sings a song and so on, and the Pequods are like fascinated by this, in part because it seems to be it's unexplainable. Like she can't directly in clear terms articulate the meaning of the art, and so it's like a frustrating thing that can't be directly translated across cultures to them, and so it kind of stands in as like the human equivalent of high language, and like what that means.
That's very true. Yeah,
this is a neat book.
That's really cool. Song, yeah, you're absolutely right. Songs, not just this. Like if you're playing an instrument, there's also language there, and just a different language, obviously, and the meaning sometimes doesn't even make sense to ask what does it mean. If you listen to the beginning, like a chord, like a guitar chord or something, like there's no meaning behind that if you ask it like that, but there is a meaning behind that, and maybe it's just a personal, private meaning to yourself that you listen in that moment, and maybe if you listen tomorrow, it's going to be different. But sometimes it's more than that. Like if I play to you "Smoke on the Water" just a little bit, and you know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, whatever. I got headphones on. I can't sing. But you know what I mean? It's just there's so many levels of language that it's just so much more than that. And that's why I think than just the language. I mean, and I think that's why. And that's like the biggest reason why our language and if you speak English, German, Italian, French, whatever, that's the biggest reason why our language shapes so much of how we think, is because it is in many ways a way to vocalize the implied meaning that we have behind our everyday lives. If you don't have a word for it, like if you had a word for "Smoke on the Water" and you just said, oh, it's this, and it's "Smoke on the Water," you just have a word for it. Like I can say the name of the song, but I'm sure for some people, like if I say "Smoke on the Water," you immediately think of the chords. But you know what I mean? It's like there's a level of translation that sometimes doesn't happen with many day-to-day things, even like the feeling of seeing a good friend for the first time in a long time, or maybe seeing a good friend that you see every day, or the feeling of there's so many things that we do and know and share that we don't have words for, no matter what language. And yeah, that's why it's sometimes easier to vocalize some of those feelings rather than others. I honestly think English is not a particularly restrictive language, despite all the
gaps.
How simple it is. Yeah. I think like the thing with English is that because it absorbs so much of other languages, historically speaking, and even modern day, it has a lot of room to. There's a lot of words. Like you can work. That you have a lot of tools at your disposal if you know how to use them. If you know how to say the words, like there's a lot of adjectives and a lot of nouns, and it's much more varied than Portuguese.
We can either find our way there, or we'll steal the language to do it.
Which, I mean, that's how you keep a language alive. You keep homogenizing. You keep taking from others and adapting.
Yeah, that's the definition. Yeah, that's the definition of being alive. Otherwise, it's just dead.
That's the thing. That's my biggest gripe with most language, is that a lot of language is really rigid. And
like, the Germans have a word for the way you feel when you've misplaced a tart. I'm like, okay. Take it. It's ours now.
They have a word. They have a word for the people who pee standing up, and the people that pee standing down.
Which is fine. I mean,
that is a thing. Yeah, I read about it recently. There's apparently in Germany rather, there's much more of a consciousness towards peeing standing down for hygiene issues and just comfort, really, and just
it is better for you to be pee when you sit down rather than standing up.
No, the other way around. It's better for you to stand down. You said it the other way around.
No, it's better to pee sitting down than it is standing up.
My words play tricks on my ears.
I'm good. I'm trying to remember which one Colonel said first, because now I've lost the thread.
I think I don't know.
He said there is a difference between they have a word for people who stand up and pee versus people who sit down and pee.
Yeah, that's the one.
But which one were you saying the German said was hygienic?
The P standing down. I mean, it's just
standing
the
down.
P sitting. Yeah, the P sitting.
Oh, that's why I say the wrong. Yeah, I'm sorry. Standing down is just
that's why I was agreeing with you, because I already knew exactly what you were saying. So I was.
I see.
That's what I mean by I don't think I noticed the problems when people speak English in a weird way, because my brain is so used to communicating with people that English isn't their first language that my brain just goes like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I just like patch over the problems and put it correctly in my head.
I'm just like, oh no, standing down is one word of each, so there's a 50-50 chance.
Well, English prioritizes the down over the up, or over the standing. So if I said sitting up, you know that I'm actually standing.
I'm just like, there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I never like sitting up. Sitting up is a dumb word, because you're not sitting up. You're either crouching or you're standing.
To be fair, standing down also, if you stand down, like there's a certain meaning behind.
Sit up usually means get up more than you are right now, but stay sitting. Yeah. It means you're like slouching or you're laying down or something. Yeah. Like, hey, sit up.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Same with stand down. Stand down is usually like you're in an aggressive stance, so get out of the aggressive stance. No one says like stand down isn't like a way to get to sit down. No one says like, hey, stand down.
Yeah, do the Slav squat. Stand down. Like patches.
Oh, that's the Slav squat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunately. I
don't know these things.
Oh, that's good. Because you should never do that. Don't Slav squat.
For peeing?
No, just in general. It's not good to do that. The only people who do that are untrustworthy bad people.
Like is the arch
like patches.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
What a fucking trajectory these podcasts go on.
I think that's the fun of language, right?
Oh, at least it's our fun.
Well, this is
never know.
This is just the stream of consciousness, like the web of connected ideas. We went from Kiryu to the foundation of all gender to language as a concept, like as a continuous chain.
Well, in any case, my stance is still there should be one language that is used only for collaboration and communication, and then there should be other languages that people use to make art or do whatever the hell they want to do in their free time.
With the way our topics evolve, if we ever do like a 5-hour podcast, we might accidentally like end reality.
Possibly.
Nah.
As it just keeps going.
Reality doesn't exist in the first place. It's only an illusion. We need to talk about that some of these days.
I have a very fortunate brain that it can just keep going with the stupidest concepts imaginable, because it will just keep creating its own entirely dumb universes and then kill them off immediately.
Isn't there a movie about that?
Probably, sure. I'm not unique. I know that much. So I'm sure that idea has been done somewhere.
Creating realities and destroying them?
Yeah, it's like you go deeper and deeper into your mind.
Like Inception?
Oh, like that's the one. That's the one. Sorry.
It's a lot less like Inception. My thing is more like I'll come up with weird realities and think about the rules in those realities and then question how those rules exist, but they're not real. And then people go like, is that a real thing? And I'm like, no, it's not a real thing. I just thought of that thing existing in a different world. What would happen if that was real? And then you just throw that whole thought away and that whole world goes with it. And that's it. You're just done. You've created a world and gotten rid of it in a second for a fleeting thought that has no answer. And then you move on. And that's how my brain works.
Well, I hope this has been thought-provoking for everybody.
I mean, it was a lot. It got a lot better once we stopped talking about all of the what's the word I'm looking for? Well, that. Yeah. But I was thinking of all of the sensitive topics.
What do you mean sensitive topics?
Exactly.
Genshin Impact?
Don't worry, I deleted all of them. This podcast is only 20 minutes long.
I mean, if that's the case, then my original stance remains that the moment we said hello, we ended the podcast.
So send your questions into dialoguechoicespodcast@gmail.com. I meant to get to some questions, but there was just such a natural gradient to this for 2.5 hours. And we're pretty much out of time now. I'm hungry.
Also,
I want to go eat food now. So,
make them
so I'm
spicy.
calling it. So thanks for watching like always, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.